Hi, Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
It's more polite to knock before you enter, but we're glad you're here. Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Happy Sabbath, and
Hello.
I pray that we are all ready and raring to go for another series of teachings. There's a couple of really good subjects I want to touch on today. You can see that in the description. I'll be talking about dispensationalism and also reading Psalm 1 in the original Hebrew and getting the fullness of that beautiful initial psalm, which our sister Pat suggested a few weeks back, and I've been meaning to have the opportunity to do that teaching. And also, welcome to the second Sabbath as we count up to Shavuot, to Pentecost. Remember, we had the Feast of First Fruits, and then we count up the seventh Sabbath. The day after the seventh Sabbath will be Shavuot, will be Pentecost. Remember, we talked about how the fact that most people count down, count 10, 9, 8, blast off, or Happy New Year type of things. But in the tradition of the Devar Yahuwah, of the word of the Most High, we count up until we hit 49, and the next day we hit 50, Pentecost. Not zero. It is going upwards, and we count upwards with optimism, with hope, with purpose, and desire to please our wonderful Creator. And I use the term already that if you're just joining us, you may or may not be familiar with. We use certain terminology that we believe are more biblically accurate, and we'll see that especially when we get to the second subject of the message that I have to prepare, that I've prepared for you, where the kahal, the congregation, the ecclesia, and how it's generally considered the term. So again, we use, instead of the word God, we use this Hebrew description, which is in the Bible, in the book of Genesis and elsewhere, Elohim. And when we speak of the tetragrammaton, which is the Yud He Vav He, the four letters, which comprise the name, which is translated in our English Bibles as capital Lord, we refer to his name as Yahuwah or Yah, the eternal Yah. So we'll be hearing that quite frequently. And our Messiah is his original Hebrew name. In fact, he was called Yeshua because he would be Yeshua for his people. He would be a salvation, the salvation uniquely from the Father. So he is Yeshua, or some people say Yahusha. It's all the same name essentially. We say Torah instead of law. We use different phrases, not in an effort to be complicated or derivative, but rather to be more clear and more biblically based. So we're grateful for the opportunity to reach out to where you are, whether you're home, I hope you're home, or in in a park somewhere, which is actually where they're saying is a better place to be, out in the open, fresh air, not the same stale air of indoors. But every week it's something new, something different, as we're all kind of sheltering with regards to this virus which is out there. And we got to be careful. We have to obey the laws of the land, in essence, with regards to our washing, with regards to our being, what's the term that they're using as far as keeping distance, or social distancing. And these are all good advice. And even after this scare, maybe people will be smart and consider to keep them as a regular habit. We don't have to. We should be washing our hands regularly. Who is he that may ascend into the holy hill of the eternal Yahuwah? But he who has a pure heart and clean hands. Right? We have to wash. The laver was in the tabernacle as well as the temple, and it was a place where the Kohanim would wash regularly with their hands and their feet. And so we need to do the same. And I would also ask if you're interested and you find this absolutely fascinating, and the teachers present and the messages that come forth, and that were especially exciting and interesting, please subscribe. Give us a thumbs up. Give us approval, or write to us, and I'll give you the contact information at the end of the first break. Because as our custom, we will do our scripture readings first, then I'll do my message, then we do a short break where I will give contact information, then I'll give part B, which is not specifically connected, but indirectly is. And that's what you have to look forward to today. Unfortunately, I only have my face to look at today, and you'll occasionally see my beloved wife behind me, Regina. Um, and normally we have our living room overflowing capacity with eager service of the eternal Yahweh. So, unfortunately, we have some people by phone on a conference call, and we've done that the past couple of weeks, and it's pretty successful. The voice comes nice and loud and clear, so we're happy about that. And again, with not that the idea is that we're Sabbath obsessed, some people may say, and we've discussed this from day one, and our first broadcast that Shabbat is an essential understanding. It's not just a day that we sleep late, we don't work, don't go off to work, and don't do certain things, don't cook, don't do certain things, and it's just a case of don'ts. Whereas the case of the do's is that we need to assemble, and we need to, under the best conditions that we can, and that we keep Torah, we keep the word of the Most High. That's another word, as I said, the law, the commandments, the Torah, the instruction, which is a better translation. He gives us instruction that we should desire to be like him, to express his character, and that's a subject I'm working on now for next week. With regards to, we need to mirror him. We need to uh, act as he acts, speak as he speaks. And this whole cheapened grace perspective, which is why I'm addressing this dispensation with the belief that, the Lord works in different ways at different times, and he's not consistent. Whereas in theos is the ethos, the ethics of the eternal are eternal, and they're not subject to change, or when you're doing your channel surfing, oh, this is a sports channel, oh, this is this channel, you know, completely disconnected one from the other. Whereas Torah and the walking with the eternal Yahweh is a consistent refresher course on our conduct, on our behavior, on the ethics, which are clearly expressed in the Word. Which, again, as I said, some people in the dispensational movement believe that we are free to dispense with the law, no longer applying to us. The law is dead, the law is gone, whatever. So we're going to give you some information about that today, and give you some grounding in that. And we'll address this in weeks to come, but I just felt it important to discuss this idea, because I hear people using this, and it's a mistranslation of our New Testament Greek words. So we'll be addressing that. And again, with the idea of Shabbat, it's not a 1 day a week thing. It tells us not so much to rest, but to stop, to cease from our activities, primarily our activities which are contrary to the Eternal's plan. So we need to behave ourselves. We need to learn from what the Word says, not just to simply nod our heads, but rather let's live it. Let's live the Word and be faithful to it, and be faithful to each other. This is what the gospel says, that loving our neighbors ourselves is the fulfillment of Torah. So again, the ethic is essential. It rises to every subject in the scriptures. So Shabbat and the ethics of Shabbat and Torah are always with us every day of the week, every moment of our lives. And again, with regards to Shabbat, as I said, I refer to Shemot, the book of Exodus 31:13, which the eternal Yahweh speaks to Moshe. He says, "Speak to the Bnei Israel, the children, the people of Israel, saying, above all, my top priority is that my Shabbatot, my Sabbaths, you shall keep, you shall observe, you shall guard, you shall protect and insulate in your very mind and in your kishkas. My Shabbats you shall keep, for it," the concept of Shabbat, the idea of stopping, hold your horses, come to a complete stop. We're so used to multitasking. Well, okay, Lord, I got you on hold for just a second. I'm attending to this, that, and the other thing. Whereas we never put him on hold. He's always communicating with us if we have the mind to receive it, if we have the heart to desire it, and to live it by our conduct, by our behavior. This is the key to the gospel. And I'm going to be talking about a lot of these things later, so I won't start preaching to you now. It's a sign, he continues to say, the Shabbatot, the Sabbaths, are a sign, a unique link, a sign between me and you throughout your generations, forever, as long as you are around and your people are around, and humanity's still here with us. In fact, the last chapter of the book of Isaiah speaks of the end in the hereafter, says that we should always assemble on Shabbat and give him thanks and praise throughout the millennium. Again, above all, when you come together, you shall keep Shabbat, keep the new moons, or the new months, rather. The new moon is a bad translation. It's the new month. And Shabbat, all flesh shall come to worship before me. All flesh, this is not for the Jews. This is not for, again, the subject of who is Israel is another whole big thing, which we need to address in the weeks to come. But if you have a tug in your heart, don't forget that the 10 northern kingdoms, 10 northern tribes were sifted through the nations. When you say, who is Israel? I believe that a lot of people are getting that awareness these days, because there will come a time soon when both houses will be joined together. And why do you think that there's people from so many diverse backgrounds coming to the conclusion that we need to keep Torah, we need to keep Shabbat, we need to keep these things? Why? Why not just be content going on your worshiping on the day of the sun and continue to be taught that there's nothing you can do to earn his approval or to behave yourself? Law is a bad thing. So anyway, this Shabbat, this concept of Shabbat, is a unique sign and ot. It's like a banner between me and you throughout your generations, that you may know that it is I who sanctifies you, who makes you good, who makes you kosher, who makes you appropriate in behaving yourself. And it comes back to the Shabbat. If we keep Shabbat and understand that it's a sign, it's a covenant sign, and that through it we find delight, as we see in Isaiah chapter 56 and Isaiah 58, as well as 66. Do a little review of this on your own, please. It's Sabbath. It's a nice day. You're not working, so you need to be reading. So these three little portions you should be mindful of. Okay? So again, it is his character exhibited through the giving of Shabbat, the giving of Torah. So he's always giving. The character and the nature of Elohim is giving. And he wants us to be giving, not getting, grasping, greedy things, but givers of ourselves. To truly be a minister of the word is to put yourself in a lesser than position, to be minus. And you give of yourself. It's not just a case of what you have lying around handy, but you're giving of your very self. And so in the giving of ourselves, we are replenished by Yahuwah through his Ruach, through his spirit. Another word, Ruach is of course the spirit. So I will when I come up with certain words, I'll be reminding. So I don't want you to be confused, but I want us to be as biblically accurate as we can in 2020, as they were in the first century, as they were 5th century BC, before the Common Era. So again, be mindful of this. And again, please subscribe. Give us a sense of your reaction to what we're doing here. And again, I say the collective we. It's just us here today, but hopefully not for very long. And again, we're going to have our readers. And again, we thank you for being with us, joining us. And some of you have been with us for weeks now, and we're really grateful. I pray that we would learn who you are, and grateful that you are, because we're getting some numbers that are very happy. So again, we come together, we acknowledge Torah, and we have our lovely Torah bearer coming forth. We're going to say the blessings of Torah, and then we're going to invite our folk that are on the conference call here to lead us in the reading of these portions of Scripture. You okay? Okay, that's a good place for the chair. Okay. When the ark would travel, Moshe would say, "Arise, O Eternal, let your enemies be scattered. Let them that hate you flee from before you. For from Zion shall go forth the Torah, and the word of the eternal Yahuwah from Yerushalayim. And blessed be he who in his holiness gave Torah to his people Israel. Notei Torah, he is the giver of Torah." Again, in his generosity. And in our lives, we need to reflect in word and in deed, not just say, "Thanks, nice going, big guy," but live it. Live our gratitude. Express our gratitude in our help. I remember I heard this one brother in the Lord years ago saying, "I helped somebody on the Sabbath, and I really feel bad about it because I should have just told them, 'No, I'm a Sabbath keeper. I can't really help you.'" And I'm just thinking, that's kind of the point of Shabbat, is to exhibit the love of Elohim. And we need to help people. Obviously, when they say help, it says, "Can you help me paint this wall here?" We're not talking about that. Okay? I'm not going there, so don't Anyway, so Ki Mitzion de Torah Udvar Yahuwah Yerushalayim. For from Zion shall go forth the Torah, the word of the eternal Yah from Yerushalayim. And again, we're grateful for you being with us this day. And we say the Torah blessings. Baruchu et Yahuwah Hamivorach. Baruchu Ata Yahuwah Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachabanu michol ha'amin v'natan lanu et Torato Baruch Ata Yahuwah notein haTorah. Blessed is the eternal, the blessed one. Blessed is the eternal, the blessed one, for all eternity. Blessed are you, O eternal Yahuwah, our Elohim, sovereign of infinity, king of the universe, but sovereign of infinity, of all that ever is, all that ever was, who has chosen us from all peoples and given us his Torah. Blessed are you, O eternal Yah, Noten HaTorah, giver of Torah.
Amen.
Okay. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. So we give thanks to the eternal for giving us his word, literally and figuratively and spiritually, giving us his Messiah, his son, his uniquely begotten son. He's given the most precious gift of all. Even as Abraham was requested to do the same, but was prevented at the last moment, just to test him, to see how far he was willing to go with regards to his love for Elohim, even though he had waited years and years and years for the son, and now he was offered. And if those who don't believe in Messiah, what was really the purpose of it? To show that the Father, not Avraham, but of Hashemayim, the Father of the heavens, was willing to give his son completely to fulfill his purpose as a sacrifice. So, Amen. I just want to again thank you and have our brethren come forward with regards to the good word. Amen. Shabbat Shalom out there. And I guess Pat will be our first reader.
Yes.
All right.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Shabbat Shalom.
Today's scripture is Psalm 16. Preserve me, O Elohim, for in you I put my trust. O my soul, you have said to the eternal, you are my eternal. My goodness is nothing apart from you. To the saints who are on the earth, they are the excellent ones in whom is all light. Their sorrow shall be multiplied, who hasten after another God. Their drink offerings of blood I will not offer, nor take up their names on my lips. You, O Eternal, are the portion of my inheritance and my cup. You maintain my lot. The lines have fallen to me in pleasant places. Yes, I have a good inheritance. I will bless the Eternal who has given me counsel. My heart also instructs me in the night seasons. I have set the Eternal always before me. Because he is at my right hand, I shall not be moved. Therefore my heart is glad, and my glory rejoices. My flesh also will rest in hope. For you will not leave my soul in Sheol, nor will you allow your Holy One in corruption. You will show me the path of life. In your presence is fullness of joy.
Yes.
Your right hand are pleasures forevermore. David is satisfied with Elohim.
Amen.
Because he trusts that Elohim is able to maintain his welfare. He is satisfied with Elohim because he knows the awful results of falling away from Elohim. He is satisfied with Elohim as anyone would be with a really generous and enviable portion of land as one's inheritance. He is satisfied because of the stabilizing influence that he has on David. David was satisfied because he believed he would be with Elohim forever, where there will be abundant pleasures.
Mm.
So, are you satisfied with Elohim?
Mm.
Or do you feel like you are missing out on something because you are following the eternal? I hope that Psalm 16 today will help you and me to realize that we are not missing out on anything by following Elohim. We as believers have all sorts of reasons to be satisfied with our Elohim. Amen.
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 Thank you, Pat. And again, part of that message in that psalm is that there are pleasures from the eternal Yahweh, great pleasures that are eternal and wonderful beyond description. And a lot of people think that the pleasures only refer to wickedness, because in these days people are lovers of pleasure rather than lovers of Elohim. Whereas we are lovers of the pleasures of Elohim. It's a pleasure for us to love Elohim. And on the Sabbath day, we're told to not seek our own pleasures, not to seek pleasures that derive from our fleshly nature, but to seek his delight, which is in the keeping of the stopping from being misdirected by foolishness on this day of all days. So thank you, Pat. The pleasures of the eternal are wonderful. Amen.
Amen.
Okay, Gilbert, you're next.
Yes, sir. I'm reading from Hebrew chapter 8.
Okay.
I read in the name of the Father, in the name of the Son, in the name of the Holy Spirit. Now of the things which we have spoken, this is the sum: we have such an high priest, who is set on the right hand of the throne of the majesty in the heavens,
Yes.
a minister of the sanctuary of the true tabernacle, which the eternal pitched and not man. For every high priest is ordained to offer gifts and sacrifices, wherefore it is of necessity that this man have some also to offer. For if we were on earth, he should not be a priest, seeing that there are priests that offer the gifts according to the law, who served unto the example and shadow of heavenly things. As Moses was admonished of Elohim when he was about to make the tabernacle, for see, saith he, that thou make all things according to the pattern shown to thee in the mount. But now hath he obtained a more excellent ministry, by how much also he is the mediator of a better covenant, which was established upon better promises.
Yes.
For if that first covenant had been faultless, then should no place have been sought for the second. For finding fault with them, he said, behold, the days come, saith the Eternal, when I will make a new covenant with the house of Israel and with the house of Judah, not according to the covenant that I made with their fathers in the day when I took them by the hand to lead them out of the land of Egypt, because they continued not in my covenant, and I regard them not, saith the Eternal. For this, the covenant that I will make with the house of Israel after these days, saith the Eternal, I will put my laws into their mind and write them in their heart, and I will be them Elohim, and they shall be to me a people.
Mm.
And they shall not teach every man his neighbor, and every man his brother, saying, know the Eternal, for all shall know him, me. For the least to the greatest, for I will be merciful to their unrighteousness, and their sins and their iniquities will I remember no more. In that he said, a new covenant he hath made, the first old. Now that which decayed and waxed old is ready to vanish away. Amen.
Amen.
In this scripture, the Hebrew. The new covenant quoted from Jeremiah 31, 31 to 36, 34. I'll read it again so you can have a full description of what is to come. Jeremiah 31, and verse 31 to 34. Then shall ye remember your own evil ways and your doings. No, I'm sorry. I'm at the wrong place. I'm reading Ezekiel. Just a minute. Bear with me. Yes. Jeremiah 31, verse 31 to 34. Behold, the days come, saith the Eternal, that I will make a new covenant with the house of Israel and with the house of Judah, not according to the covenant that I made with their fathers in the day that I took them by the hand, to bring them out of the land of Egypt, which my covenant they break. Although I was a husband unto them, saith the Eternal. But this shall be the covenant that I will make with the house of Israel after those days, saith the Eternal. I will put my law in their inward parts, and write it in their hearts, and will be their Elohim. They shall be my people, and they shall teach no more every man his neighbor, and every man his brother, saying, Know the Eternal, for they shall know me, for the least of them unto the greatest of them, saith the Eternal, for I will forgive their iniquities, and I will remember their sins no more. So great is our Eternal that in the future, when we are all become saints before Eternal, we will be forgotten of all our sins. It will be wiped out clean. Oh, gracious thou art, O Elohim. With the house of Israel and with the house of Judah. This statement is very precise. It involves the Jewish people at a time when they will again be united. When Jeremiah revealed this prophecy, Israel was scattered through about the Middle East, and Judah had just recently begun its exile to Babylon. This new covenant made with the Jewish people would come after they were regathered Israel. I must say, we are very fortunate as long as we continue to live the life that we're supposed to be. It will not only be for the Jews, but for those who are saved. As long as our names are in the Lamb's Book of Life, then we can look forward. So at this present time, we should prepare ourselves. Do not wait until it's too late.
Amen.
Furthermore, the revelation of the new covenant to the Gentiles, church age believers is believed in one several very first millennium. Believe that the church replaced Israel, and so this covenant is fulfilled by the church. A second view purpose that the covenant, as Jeremiah 31 suggested, is for the nation of Israel alone. Third view suggests that the new covenant exists, one for Israel and one for the church. The fourth, and probably the best view, is that there is one new covenant, which Elohim will one day fulfill with Israel, and which the church participates. Today, in other words, though the covenant is not fulfilled, Messiah's death has initiated its present benefits for those who will someday share in the ultimate blessings when it is fulfilled with Israel. This view alone will be the witness for both Old and New Testament. Stand. Amen.
Amen. Also, as we do our studies and when we read commentaries, we have to be careful because some of that really falls into the category that I believe are in error. We see Jeremiah, which is a portion I was going to share today too, that the eternal Yahweh would cut a new covenant with the house of Israel and with the house of Yehuda, and then, but with regards to the new covenant, and again, the chapter that you read from the book of Hebrews says the Eternal did not find fault with it, but with them, the people who failed, who did not combine Torah with faith. And Torah with faith is essential. We can keep Torah, the literal keeping, and it does not lead us into the kingdom. It has to be combined with faith. And faith is through faith that we receive his grace to be able to say no to the worldly conditions and to say yes to him. So it's interesting that the house of Israel, the house of Judah, but then the second portion says, but this is the covenant that I will cut with the house of Israel, which is the united Israel. So my point is that when we talk about church age, we talk about this. This is from the devil. This is very, very dangerous stuff when we talk about the church age. That's straight from dual covenant theology. So we just got to be a little careful there, because as I was saying, who is Israel today? The 10 tribes have been scattered through the nations. They have their remnants in Jamaica. They have their remnants in Jamaica, Queens. They have their remnant in China, in Japan, and throughout Europe. See, some of these commentaries say, well, Israel was just in this one little location. No, and Messiah, his purpose was to come for who? For those of Spain, or those from Italy, or those from Greece? No, he said, I come to seek the lost sheep of the house of Israel. The lost sheep of the house of Israel. And Israel is bigger than just the Jewish people. And a lot of times these commentaries, they talk about the Jews, and the Jews this, the Jews that, whereas the Jewish people are one of 12 tribes. They are part of a bigger picture. So if we really want to narrow things down, we ruin the prophecy that the eternal Yahweh gave to Abraham, that they would be numerous as the stars in the sky. Today, you can number the amount of Jewish people, and it's a nice number, but it's not the type of number that we're talking about here. But if you combine all those, remember, Avram was changed to Abraham, the father of many nations, not just the Israelite nation, but through the dispersing and the galut, the exiles, the nations have been blessed, the nations have been inspired, and a lot of the great inventions and such come from that seed. And those who are true praisers of Elohim will recognize their identity, because the end time, there'll be an exile, not just the Jewish people, but of all the different people. And it's going to be an amazing rainbow of faces of all different ethnos, all different people. And again, the ethics, the ethnos of Theos are going to be myriad, and they're going to be all gathered together. As I said before, why is somebody waking up this morning, way ahead of us actually, getting ready for bed almost, in Japan, saying, hey, I need to know Torah. I need to keep the Sabbath. I just discovered that. Where's that coming from? Where does that come from? Whereas many who are saying, I'm just content worshiping the sun deity, and I hate this law. The law is awful. There's a distinction there, right? There are those who want to serve the Lord in truth and in spirit, not worried about the geographic location, as Messiah told the Samaritan woman. But we are one kahal. We are to be one house. Both north and south, Israel and Judah, are to be echad, and the Gentile remnant among them. Because remember, the commandment of the Sabbath is this is for you, and also for the Gentile who lives among you, the Ger Hagor, who has basically been assimilated into a community and seeks to serve you, like we see in the book of Acts with Saul, Paul, who goes to the synagogues first, because within the synagogue are Jewish people, remnants of Israel, and also those who have yet been physically converted and circumcised, but they're Gentile God-fearers, if you will, who were referred to as proselytes at the gate. They didn't feel it essential to become Jews in order to keep the Torah. Okay, so that's why Colossians talk about the Messiah is the moil. He's the one who circumcises. He's the one who offers us the mikvah bath of repentance and washing away of the old nature. So anyway, I'm going into a lot of things here, but I thank you, Gilbert, because again, that portion reminds us what I talked about a lot last week, was that in the book of Hebrews, we're shown the supremacy of the Brit Hadashah because the priesthood of the new covenant includes us. And potentially when Messiah returns, there's going to be a new covenant priesthood. Um, there's a change in the law that needs to be changed, or what's the word that it really means? It's not talking about change whole stock. It's a transference of the priesthood is going to be. Um, that's what's fading away, because the book of Hebrews was written while the temple was still standing, because he's speaking in the present tense about the Kohanim making their offerings, and that which is old and fading is going to become obsolete. There's going to be there's a new sheriff in town. There's a new Kohen Agadol, a new high priest who is Messiah, and it's to Messiah who ordains those who will be Kohanim under him. And we have Peter. We have all these different things that I shared last week. You can review and what was discussed last week, because I went too deep into detail about the temple, and we are the temple of the Brit Chadashah. We are the living stones of that temple, and those who are of the spirit of anti-Messiah will threaten to through teachings like this, through dispensation and so on, will teach us that there will be those who are elevated to the position where they'll come into the temple and corrupt, which has been happening for 2,000 years. It's not something that's going to happen. It's already well underway. It's going to find itself a perfect leader in this person referred to as anti-Mashiach, but it's well underway. It's not going to be this huge change. Oh, the Antichrist is here. All these stuff, the signs happen. The signs are here. The signs are here. The temple of Elohim has been corrupted. The temple of Elohim has been defiled by false teachings. And so, as it says in the word, there will be divisions among you to prove who was the elect and who were those who were there for distractions. So within the community, within the body, there will be divisions, and it's not of the devil, it is of Yahuwah, to declare who is the holy and who is the profane. I just saw a commercial for a book. I don't want to really mention his name, but Mike Evans, okay, about the new awakening. The new awakening. The new awakening is when this false church declares us the true enemies, those who want to keep Torah and keep the truth, and we will be the enemies. They will sell us. They will try to kill us. That's the revival that they're looking for, an end-time revival. The Bible says nothing about an end-time revival. It says everything about a falling away. It says everything about a distancing themselves from Torah, distancing themselves from truth, and becoming their own thing. And I'm going to be talking about that at a greater extent. I don't mean to eat into that time there. Any other readers out there?
Yeah, I got one.
I had a feeling you were out there, Michael. I didn't want to declare that, but I'm so happy that you're with us today.
You're going to read from 1 John. It is Shabbat. So therefore, I always highlight Shabbat. Have it specific, have it rather detailed. Rather than it just becoming just a title.
Right.
But an emphasis. It starts off here in verse 1. Behold, what manner of love the Father hath bestowed upon us, that we should be called what the sons of God, sons of Elohim. Therefore the world knoweth us not, because it does not know him not. Beloved, now we are sons of Elohim. Again, that's male and female. Again, sons taken from the Hebrew being, which means understanding, reasoning, thinking, verbal form there. So either male or female. So don't think because you see sons there that it's just talking about males. It's not. It's not even. It's not referring to sons literally at all in terms of gender, but in terms of understanding. And that's Hebrews. That's Strong's Concordance 8995. If anyone wants to look that up. And it does not yet appear where we shall be. We know that when he shall appear, we shall be like him, for we shall see him as he is. Now, again, the context that we see here is of the Father from verse 1. But as and we'll in later analysis, some other time there, that the Messiah said that I and the Father are one. If you have seen me, you have seen the Father. Right? The works that I do, I do nothing of myself, but the Father that dwells in me does the work. Who was he saying that he really is? Within the incarnation, who is he saying that he is? Okay. Again, verse 3. Here we go. And every person that has this hope purifies that person even as he is pure. Who are we talking about here? Who is he even as he is pure? The only context there so far is what? Is the Father. We'll see later on as it continues in regards to the Son. Because the Son and the Father, they are one in regard to there. So again, if you have that hope, you purify yourself even as he is pure.
Yes.
Right? And the thing that benefits the Son in regards to, because the Father, of course, is in his state is not being in the flesh of a different category. The Father is greater than us. Whoever commits sin transgresseth the law. For sin is, again, here we see here is actually transgression of the law. That's actually mistranslation. It should be lawlessness. Again, anomia, lawlessness. If sin is at the level of transgression of the law, then everything below transgression is not sin then. And that's a danger of people, just look at the text there without seeing the word there. But, everything at the level of anomia is sin. Not that if you make transgression, our basis is at a higher level. So if it's at the level of transgression, and everything below that, then it's not sin then. But the lowest strata there is anomia there, and that's where sin lies right there. In that context there. Again, a lot of theology all the time here. And that he was manifested to take away our sins, and in him is no sin. Now we have a direct relation now to the Son. In regards to the Son, he was manifested to take away sin. So we see there's kind of like a shift or a slide there from the Father into the Son there, right? Because again, they're actually seen as one, understanding in regards to the context. The work that I do, I don't do anything of myself, right? If he that believes not in me, and he who sent me, and he that sees me sees him who sent me. Again, a lot of theology, but who is he saying that he is? Verse 6. Whoever abides in him, again, here we go back to Shabbat specific. Whoever abides in him sinneth not. And whoever sinneth hath not seen him, neither known him. So we see here, whoever abides in him, sins not. If you do sin, you have not seen him or known him. How do you know if you know him? We keep his commandments, right? So again, here we back to Shabbat, a strict Shabbat. First John 3 is a strict Shabbat chapter. Again, if you abide in him, and this is in context, of course, now of verse 9, in regards to being quote unquote born, right? Because people want to make a big deal that it just means begotten. But verse 6 changes that and puts it into the word abide, and now abide is in the present tense. It says that we have to abide in him in the now.
Yes.
Right? Abide in him now and manifest. So therefore it nullifies the aspect in regards to it just means begotten. Because verse 6 does not mean quote unquote just begotten. Little children. Okay, this is a technia before. Let no one deceive you. He that does righteousness is righteous even as that one, or he is righteous. Referring to who? Messiah, right? Let no one deceive you with nonsense about, Robert mentioned before about false grace and that, no one's perfect and blah, 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 like that, stuff like that. It's nonsense. All a brush off that we can't behave ourselves appropriately. Nonsense. You destroy if that be the case there. But the technia, let no one deceive you, no matter who it is, from different ecclesial organizations, or ministries, or whatever, so on, right? If you're righteous as Messiah is. You don't know who Messiah by Jesus Christ, for you to, not familiar with that. That's what that's saying there. Okay, period. If you're righteous as Jesus Christ was. All right, that's what that's saying right there. And again, Robert and I have been through this in the past there. So yeah, okay. don't steal, don't lie, don't commit adultery. It's not a big deal. When you go to chapter 5, verse 3, right? And again, keep his commandments, and his commandments are not burdensome. This is not a big deal thing in regards to doing this. It's really not. This is the love of Elohim that keep commandments, and they're not burdensome. Okay, it's from verse 7 there. And again, what's the call for here? We go here to verse 8. He that commits sins is of the devil. And that's not future, that's now.
Yes.
The devil sins from the beginning, of course, and the reason why the Son was manifested is that he might but make none effect the work of the devil, right, through his law. This is how we do it there, right? And then we, of course, then through his instruction that he gives us there, we then make the devil works of the devil manifest for ourselves. And then verse 9, of course, says, whoever is born of Elohim does not commit sin. For his seed, we go from 1 Peter 1:23, the seed is the word, the Rhema of Elohim, right? And he cannot sin because what? He has been born of God. There's a perfect participle there. Has been born of God.
Yes.
Okay? Well, that's got to be future, right? You're just begotten. But look at the context of verse 10. In this, the children of Elohim are manifest. Now, not in the future.
Yes.
Right? Not ready for a birth, just being begotten. In this, the children are manifest now, and the children of the devil. You can see them right now. Again, continuing, whoever does not righteousness now is not of Elohim. He that loveth not his brother. Okay? Again, so 1 John 3 up to verse 10 there. Again, going back to the context in regards to Shabbat. I would like to give a clarification in regards to Shabbat. If we don't lose that concept, because there are many organizations out there that, quote-unquote, Shabbat organizations there, but they don't make any reference really to Shabbat, what it actually means.
Right.
There's a lot of confusion. And this is kind of like, kind of get swept under the rug there. But this day here, again, this is a commandment, right, in regards to Shabbat. So therefore, you need its proper recognition and its proper understanding, and to be clarified each and every time that we have a Shabbat. So that's it. Thank you, Robert.
Hey, this was a pleasure. And for all of you listening, this is vintage Michael. This is what we've been missing, and this is good, man. This is good, brother. This is good. And my head's gonna fall off my neck with all my nodding in agreement with you, because we need to hear the true message of Shabbat, and you're gonna find it here. I'm not gonna claim exclusive rights to it for us, not me, but us, the group here. So again, we have to be careful when we're reading commentaries, especially because we're gonna read about how from the 1800s, many have been poisoned with false truths. So again, we are grateful to you. Just reading some of the notes here. It says Michael's.
Yeah, I just want to mention one more thing in regards to.
Okay, they're saying that you were breaking up. I don't know how that was possible.
Yeah, one thing I want to mention also, of course, we know people talk about in regards to the Father, the Son, being two beings. But again, there's a lot of theology here, which we can cover a later time. But if you go to Hebrews chapter 7, now it's talking about here in regards to Melchizedek, Salem. Now again, a lot of theology here, but people think that, well, okay, back here in the time of Abraham, that was actually Messiah, which was actually not. It was a type. Again, there's other grammatical issues there that can explain that. When we talk about in regards to Messiah being the son of Elohim, right? Because now we look back in Hebrews, it's talking about Messiah as being, right, Melchizedek. But take a look here now, right? Take a look here. Okay. Verse 3. In Melchizedek, king of Salem, above Abraham gave a tenth. Okay. Now look at the type in verse 3. Without father, without mother, and of course, without descent, beginning of days, nor end of life, but made like the son of Elohim, abides the priest continually. Now, if you're a son, at some point in time, Daddy Elohim had to get in contact with Mommy Elohim, whatever, from the common physical to beget a son Elohim. It just makes sense. Like, you just don't have an eternal son in that regard. It has to be a time of birth in regard to this. But look at the father. Without father, he does not have a father. So understand that when he talks about the son of Elohim here, don't think in regards to human categories, physical categories. Father, son, daughter, mother, son, so on. That's not what's being spoken of there. Something else. Something ideological. Going back again to Strong's number H995 in regards to understanding, in regards to the perspective or reasoning aspects there of the mind. It's not talking about physical DNA passing on of something there. Because that's why you have in verse chapter 1. In chapter 1. That here, that verse 3, speaking of the Son here, the brightness of his doxa, the express image of his person. Right? Language, of course, showing actually the same being, the same individual. Again, the work that I do not the words that you hear me speak, no, that's not me speaking. That's someone else dwelling in me. So therefore, who is he saying that he is? Who is he saying that he is? Again, a lot of theology there, but again, go through later there. But again, when I emphasize with regard to the importance of Shabbat and bringing these things out on Shabbat and understanding what Shabbat is, who the Son is, what he actually is in regards to the incarnation, who he really was. Like, show us the Father. Show us the Father. If I've been with you so long, in John 14, if you've seen me, you've seen the Father. Right? If you've seen me, you've seen not me, but he who sent me. He says it over and over and over again to show you that, look, I'm not who you think I am. Right? There's someone else that I actually am. You don't really understand. Again, in regards to issues in regards to the theology there, the oneness there. Right? In regards to the incarnation. Right? He emptied himself of his technology, his spiritual technology there. But of course, his ethics and mind remain the same, remain the exact same. The context of replication in that regards there. So that's it for now. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Michael. Continue to get better. We need you on the couch here. All right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, be well, brother. Okay, thank you. And again, we thank you for your attention. We got a signal saying that you were breaking up a little bit there, but hopefully the playback will be better. Regina just went to play it. And
it's a little crackly.
A little crackly?
Yeah.
Okay.
But you're okay.
I'm okay, you're okay. Okay, a little crackly. Hopefully you're patient enough to sift through the crackles. And I don't know if it plays back better. I can't say that. But, here we are. If you have any questions or any comments about that, we welcome them. We welcome your input in your conversation. Okay, so I'm going to get started here with the message that I already let the cat out of the bag. It's about dispensations and dispensationalism and why it's a dangerous philosophy, theology, and the majority of those who call themselves evangelicals and fundamentalists, they've bought into this. So again, we need to be independent thinkers and not just fall in with groupthink. Even though this is what this is our church. This is what we say. This is okay. We'll search the scriptures, and come out from among them. Because as I shared today and also last week, there will be those who cause divisions. There will be, and that's part of the natural course. In order to prove that which is the elect will not be mixed in with the mediocre. It won't happen. So anyway, the definition of dispensation is a system of order, government, or organization of a nation, community, etc., especially existing at a very specific time, a dispensation. In dispensational theology, there is a dispensation of law and a separate dispensation of grace, where one can finally dispense with the Torah entirely. And as we just read it twice through Jeremiah 11 and also in Hebrews that quotes it, says the new covenant, the Brit Chadashah, made with Yisrael and Yehuda together as united Israel, all the brethren who are truly of Israel, of Abraham's blessing, the father of many nations, consolidated into the one group, the one body. That the Torah, it's the Torah that will be placed in our minds, between our eyes, and on our hands, and in our hearts. This is Torah. It's not a new Torah. The Torah is the Torah. It is appropriate, and it is instruction. Okay. So again, the mind and the heart are actively involved in Torah. It's not just doing. The misnomer is that the law is just something we do on automatic control, and there are those that do that. Automatic pilot, they're not involved in it. They're not, no faith required. Okay. Phone lines are clear. Okay, I apologize if we didn't. I understand that the landline. Oh, hello. I can't hear you. Call Regina's number. I don't know who that was. I couldn't hear them. Anyway. Okay, dispense with the law, Torah, the law. One such model of dispensationalism is that from Adam to Torah is one, Torah to Messiah's birth is another, and Messiah's birth to his second coming is another. It's a neat little bite-sized snacks that we can change and organize and reorganize as we see fit. Playing chess with these figures, and we don't own the chessboard. We don't own the right to do these things. We don't go beyond what is written. What is written is adequate. So the word translated as dispensation in the Bible, and I'm going to show you where it is. You can do your own word study on this also, but I prepared this. Dispensation is used a few times in the scriptures. Oikonomia, which actually means the law of the house. The law of the house. Would you ever use the law of the house? In other words, the way that we do things done around here is this way. When it's bedtime, you go brush your teeth and you go to bed. That's the law of the house. What does that have to do with dispensations? Well, in dinner time was a separate dispensation. So you were allowed to walk around and watch TV and do your homework. But the dispensation of night will come. Do I change? It gets confusing. The gospel should not be this confusing. The law of the house. It refers to the management of the affairs of the household. We are the living stones that comprise the true holy house. So if we are faithfully doing our work, we are managers of the house. We are stewards of the house that the eternal Yahweh has entrusted us with, whether it's running our household. Did you know who it was?
Yes, Gilbert. Hello?
Oikonomia is often translated as stewardship. So there's some places where dispensation is used, others where stewardship is. And stewardship make a lot more sense.
He's saying you're breaking up bad. So let me just go inside and listen.
Breaking up bad. Okay. Okay. Those who are watching, let me know if I'm not getting through to you. Okay. I'm going to continue. I'm going to the Gospel of Luke, chapter 16, verse 1. Yeshua said to his Talmudim, there was a certain rich man who had a steward, a manager, an overseer. Okay, that's what that is. And then accusation was brought to him that this man was wasting his goods. And we jump down to verse 3. Then the steward said within himself, what shall I do? For my master is taking the stewardship away from me. I cannot dig, and I'm too ashamed to beg. So in other words, the cushy religious gig is an attractive vocation for anyone who has an aversion to honest work.
You're cracking up a little bit. I don't know if it's the laptop.
How bad?
Okay. Speak.
Okay. We seem to be having some difficulties. Anyway. Okay, the one who has a stewardship entrusted to him is a steward, an overseer, an oikonomos. Okay, I go to Luke chapter 12, verse 42. Okay, Yeshua said, who then is that faithful and wise steward whom his master will make ruler over his household, to give them their portion of food in due season, question mark. Blessed is that servant, not a big shot, but a servant. Blessed is that servant whom his master will find doing when he comes. So we are to be doing. We do actively giving, actively doing what's responsible. I'm speaking a little slowly because I hear that I'm breaking up. So I'm not having an aneurysm or anything. I'm just trying to speak a little slowly, and hopefully this will break up. We'll come back and be clear. So this person in doing is faithfully administers the bread of life to those of the house, Beit HaMikdash, the holy temple. So we are currently stewards of the house of Yahuwah. We have agreed to the terms of this stewardship because it's left under our care. Verse 47. And that's why we have to be careful about the things that we say and the things that we believe that could potentially conflict with what the eternal Yahuwah has given us to say and to do. Okay? Verse 47, and that servant who knew his master's will and did not prepare himself, that servant who knew his master's will and did not prepare himself or do according to his will. So again, this is those that the book of Romans, the first chapter, is talking about. They don't give him thanks or praise or acknowledge his leadership and lordship over their lives, but rather they're faulty stewards, faulty in their stewardship, right? They know his will and do not prepare themselves to do it according to his will. Not my will, but thy will be done. They will be beaten with many stripes. So we know better, and yet we continue to do so anyway. You know, as it says in Luke chapter 6, Messiah says, why do you call me Lord, Lord, and yet don't do the things that I tell you to do? Why? You know, we're wasting each other's times here. I go to verse 48, the second portion of that verse. For everyone to whom much is given, from him much will be required. And to whom much has been committed, of him they will ask the more. So again, you're walking with the Lord, allegedly. And if you're not walking and giving a proper account and doing so effectively and according to the will of the Most High, then we've got a lot to answer for. So before we speak, and I said that from the outset, I have to be very careful about what I say here, because if it's reaching you and you're listening, and again, as we say many times before, prove all things, test all things, as Paul said in Thessalonians. Hold on to that which is good and provable, and reject that which is off the top of his head or from some faulty teaching that he absorbed. So I want to learn. I want us all to be teachable, and we cannot afford to be classified as lawless, as those who reject the law of the house, of the household, the stewardship which has been given to those who are the faith. We're automatically drafted to become stewards and to do the work that's required of us. There's no spectators. There's no passive roommates. You don't work, you don't eat. Okay, it's a rule that applies to the truth. If we're not willing to work for the gospel and for the kingdom, then we can't benefit from the things of the table of Yahuwah. Okay, as you can see, oikonomios or oikonomos has nothing to do with time divisions, but everything to do with faithful service and consistent service. We have to be faithful, we have to be consistent, consistently good. You can be bad and be consistently bad. So Paul writes in 1 Corinthians 9, I'm looking at verses 16 and 17. For if I preach the gospel, I have nothing to boast of, for necessity is laid upon me, or for I am under compulsion. I must do this, okay? Yes, woe is me if I do not preach the gospel. For if I do this willingly or voluntarily, I have a reward. But if against my will, I have been entrusted with a stewardship. Oikonomon. I've been entrusted with this stewardship. Clear and simple to understand, right? Why then is it frequently translated, but if against my will, a dispensation is committed to me? And that's as clear as mud. A dispensation has been committed to me. What does that mean? A certain time to do it, certain time frame, which is set apart from other time frames? No, from now till we close our eyes for the final time, this stewardship is laid upon us. How am I doing?
It seems a little better.
Seems a little better. Okay, my technician behind me here, my beloved, is listening, and I'm just hoping that you're getting this. A lot went into this, and I want everyone who can to hear the word. Those who have ears, let them hear, and come out of this flawed and faulty way of thinking. Paul's saying this is not to be taken with a grain of salt. We have to do this. We must be faithful. We've been entrusted with a stewardship, regardless of whether we're preaching on the television, on a radio, or talking to our family, talking to our friends, our neighbors. You know, we do this in different ways, but it has to all be done in love and in loving ways. Okay. I'm going to Ephesians chapter 1, verses 9 and 10. This is where the skill of lip reading comes in handy, just in case the sound is breaking up.
Yeah.
How am I doing?
It's just breaking up a little bit.
But it's still breaking up.
Yeah.
Okay, are you getting what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, verses 9 and 10 of Ephesians chapter 1. Having made known to us the mystery of his will, according to his good pleasure, or his kind intention, eudokian, his good intentions, his desire, good pleasure, which he proposed in himself, that in the faithful and effective management of the fullness of the times, okay, he might gather together in one all things in Messiah, okay, both which is in heaven and which are on earth in him. A plan for the fullness of the times seems to be speaking against pieces or divisions. A fullness requires the whole thing. If you've been given a book as opposed to excerpts, it's often the same source, but you want the full book if you have an interest in pursuing or reading what needs to be understood. Okay, and I'm hoping that you're patient with me with this, and I'm really going to try to continue until I'm told that we should not continue. I really hope that we don't have to do that. Every connection here good? You want to double check, make sure that the camera's fully in there, and
Sure.
okay. Don't pull it out, just pull it closer again. Okay. Okay. Having made known to us the mystery of his will, and it is a mystery to many because we have all these denominations, we have all these different disparate teachings, right? According to his will, according to his good pleasure, which he proposed in himself, that in the management of the fullness of the times, successful and effective management, otherwise dispensation of his fullness of his time, he might gather together in one all in Messiah. Okay, so this is also could be translated with a view to administration, oikonomian. Okay, you can have a division. How can you have a division if we're talking about the fullness? Okay, when describing the fullness of time, it's like a slice of pie is the same as the whole pie. Again, an excerpt from the whole book. Ephesians 3, verse 2. Ephesians chapter 3, verse 2. If indeed you have heard of the dispensation of grace, charitas, which is where we get the word charity from, and I'm reading this in the more traditional word because I use dispensation. If you indeed have heard of the dispensation of grace of Elohim, which was given to me for you, so it sounds like a gift, but a limited or a partial gift of grace implies limitations to that gift, right? So again, Paul is elected to manage or oversee the proper administration of distribution, okay, of grace that was appointed for him to deliver to us, right? Colossians 1, verse 25, whereof I am made a minister according to the stewardship from Elohim, or the dispensation of Elohim, is the other translation, but according to the stewardship what was given to me, the dispensation was not given to us. A whole section of time given to it doesn't make sense. But a stewardship can be transferred over to us, given to him. For you, and again, Paul is intermediary of the gift. He's given to me to give to you. Paul receives it and he distributes it to fulfill the word of Yah. Okay. The division of time into different separate dispensations is essentially the dispensational theology. But this concept is not biblical. It considers biblical history as divided by Elohim into defined periods of ages to which Elohim has allotted administration principles. Good? Tell me if it really goes bad.
Well, someone wrote saying, yes, it could be heard clearly at a good volume. The crackling sound is not overpowering, just that it could be heard. But your thing is...
Okay, so I'm speaking louder, makes better. Is that what we're saying? Thank you, by the way. Thank you. So when I speak louder, is that better? Somebody let me know that. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Am I louder with you that overwhelms the crackles? Yes, perhaps, maybe. Yes, Regina?
Well,
When I'm speaking louder, it sounds better?
What you're at now is, okay, don't get too loud.
Well, I'm speaking louder. It sounds better now?
No, I can still... Because... No, he's still getting crackling.
Even when I'm louder?
Yeah, so at your normal tone, it's okay. Hello? Yes?
Okay. Okay.
He said not to speak, like Elwood said, not to speak too loud because it gets more crackly.
Okay, it's more crackling. Okay. Okay, brethren, I'm really sorry about this. I don't know what's going on here. But what's that?
That could be, what's going on. Who knows?
No, I don't think a virus is responsible for this.
No, I know.
Okay. Okay. Anyway, Colossians 1:25. And that's the main thing of reading verses for you to look up. You can look them up and hear them. And Paul says, where I am made a minister according to the stewardship from Elohim, which is translated. Okay, I already did that. Okay, I'm losing my space here. I'm sorry. And I'm reading some portions that I wrote down from descriptions of these actual things, so that you're going to hear their words as well as mine in this, what follows. So it considers, dispensational theology considers biblical history as divided by Elohim into defined periods or ages to which Elohim has allotted administrative principles. Ironically, it is the majority position within Christian fundamentalism, and this rift only continues to grow. And for Matthew 24, verses 4 and 13, as I alluded to earlier, that our concern about the persecution and tribulation, a lot of it's going to be coming from them to us. So the world is only going to be involved to a certain extent, but the work of the anti-Messiah is going to, like a Svengali, is going to have all these quote-unquote Christians as our main opposition. Okay? So each passing age of Elohim's plan is thus administered in a certain way, and humanity is held responsible as stewards to enforce this doctrine during each singular time epoch. 1 Timothy 1, verses 3 and 4.
No, Michael is saying, you're audible. You can be heard. Just, don't worry about the little crackling.
Okay. All right. Okay, so I'm not going to speak loud. I'm going to work contrary to that. Okay, 1 Timothy 1, 3 and 4. We are charged to teach no other doctrine, nor give heed to fables and endless genealogies, which cause disputes rather than godly edification, which is in faith, which is in faith. Which one might say fair enough, but what of these divisions and changes that have been made throughout time? Changes, inconsistencies, variations. And we see Malachi or Malachi. Yes, you are very audible. Okay. I thank you. I thank you for your help there. Emma Peel, John Steed. I can barely see that screen there. I'm sorry. I thank you for your help. Okay, Malachi, which means my messenger, my angel, says 3:6 says, "For I am Yahuwah, I am the eternal. I do not change. Therefore, you are not consumed, O sons of Yaakov." I don't change. I don't change. So again, his instruction is not restricted to time or space or subject to function differently within confining dispensations. Now, he has established covenants throughout time, but they are built upon each other. The covenant of Noah, the covenant of David, the covenant, and so on and so forth. They don't nullify the previous covenant. The eternal in that chapter that Gilbert read earlier is he found fault with them, not with the covenant, not with the Tanakh, but with the people. Okay. Jacob, book of Yaakov, otherwise known as James, 1 verse 17. Every good gift and every perfect gift is from above and comes down from the Father of lights, with whom there is no variation or shadow of turning. Again, no variation, no changing, no adding or subtracting, because that's what he keeps telling us, right? Do not add or subtract from the word. Do not add or subtract. Don't go beyond what is written. So we have the word that is written that we can read and we can study and go into deeper explanations of various things. So essentially, what you see is what you get with the Eternal. He's not going to surprise you, except with the level of his goodness that he has in store for you. Okay. Hebrews 13, verse 8, Yeshua the same. Messiah is the same yesterday, today, and forever. So again, dispensational theology, and I'm reading from the definition. It's a new exegetical methodologies, new rationalities of thought and doctrinal teachings, which were introduced once in the 1800s, early and then throughout the century. Under grace, again, the idea of being under grace as opposed to under law means that we're no longer bound to the ethics of Torah, which is wrong. Messiah said, "I did not come to abolish, but to fulfill." So John Nelson Darby is the guy who got this all started. He's recognized as the father of dispensationalism, and that time is separated by dispensational divisions of history, defined by periods of time. Elohim interacts differently with humanity through distinctly separate approaches, and he has different relationships with the people of faith through 7 distinct dispensations. I'm going to list them for you. The one is the dispensation of innocence and free will, which is from the creation of man to the time of Noah. The second is conscience, which is civilization inherits conscience to the time of Noah. Okay. The third is government, which is humanity is commissioned to govern, which begins and ends with the Tower of Babel. The fourth is promise, covenant promises to Abraham and to his seed. Number 5 is law, commands given, the giving of the law to Moses. The 6th is grace. The church is given the spirit of grace. The 7th is Christ returns, which is the kingdom age. That's the 7 dispensations. And again, nicely cut and diced. But again, between 5 and 6 are the main issues, law and grace. And never the twain shall meet, even though they're on the same twack. Okay, so grace and law are equal, because it says in Titus that grace has been given to us so that we can say no to sin, and we can understand Torah. We can have the power to live the life that we need within the parameters of His instruction. And besides John Nelson Darby, the father of dispensationalism. The next one on the scene was C.I. Schofield, who publishes his chain reference study Bible, taking Darby's work to greater heights, and he popularizes Darby's edited 1611 text with cross references and chain references that skillfully guides the student to other scriptures that affirm their perspective and supports them. So the other comparable things: the dual covenant theology, the church versus Israel, the church replacing Israel, new probations with new administrations. All Protestant denominations currently are teaching this stuff. And as I said before, one of the dangers of Messianic Judaism is it's the wedding of Rabbinic Judaism and dispensationalist Protestant Christianity, and it takes up all the errors from both. And anyway, just be careful. Be careful, my friends. And the other reason why they believe they have the right to this chopping up, so to speak, is from 2 Timothy 2:15. And I'm sure a lot of you are knowing where we're going with this. How am I sounding now? Okay. Paul's talking to Timothy, his son in the faith. Okay. It says, be diligent or study to present yourself approved to Elohim. In other words, proves that you're serious. Messiah's disciples were referred to as Talmidim, which were students. So we are students. We need to be teachable. We need to learn the ways that we don't become lawless, that we don't fall away in the great falling away, which is a terrible thing. Okay, approved of Elohim, a worker who does not need to be ashamed because they rightly divide the word of truth. Rightly divide the word of truth. So they literally believe that we must divide and separate categories of scripture pertaining to distinct dispensations. Snip, snip. That's what Thomas Jefferson was famous for. His Bible, his version of his Bible that he read, removed all the supernatural or miraculous aspects of Messiah. They were all purely theoretical stuff. Okay. Orthotomeo is the word there, which can be translated as dissect or expound to make a direct assertion. It could better be described as is correctly handling, to set forth truthfully without perversion or distortion. That's what this rightly dividing the word. Does anybody really believe that we divide the word? Okay, so that's one word multiplied by 3. How do we divide? We do a straight cut, or we dissect, which is not literal, obviously. Obviously, that's not literal. We dissect the word. We make a straight cut in the word. It's talking about it, making a direct assertion, teaching properly, not destroying Torah, which is one of the ways of describing errant teachings, destroying it, make it of no effect. So it's a correct handling. So ironically, this is exactly what this approach of dispensational does. The dispensationalism does. It does not correctly handle or set forth truthfully without perversion. Or it is a perversion. It's a twisting. So observe these following verses, verse 16 and 17a. It says, but shun, continuing with what he's saying about dividing the word, because listen to what he says, but shun profane and idle babble. In other words, properly understand the word, not snip, snip, cut it away and divide it, but to discern its truth. Okay? For they will increase to more ungodliness as they have. There's churches, quote unquote churches, filled with sinful behavior, no sense of real repentance, all kinds of craziness going on, filled with quote unquote social messages, social justice warriors, filling the pews with the refuse of mankind, and with no guidance to repent or to improve. Right? They will they'll increase their message to become more and more ungodly. For their message will spread like a cancer, and so it has. So we agree with Paul here, right? Their message will spread like cancer. It's the path of least resistance, the easy way out. That's what a lot of these teachings have in common. It's the easy way out. Don't worry, it's all been done for you. All you have to do is kind of just coast. Put your car in neutral. You know, you'll be led, and you'll be led like a pencil, led like a weight to sink. 1 Corinthians 4, verses 1 and 2. 1 Corinthians 4, 1 and 2. Let a man so consider us as servants of Messiah and stewards. Okay, and we are again to be stewards. I'm sounding like a broken record. Of the mysteries of Elohim. Moreover, it is required in stewards that one be found faithful. We have to be faithful. We have to be of faith, full of faith, trusting, believing, doing the work, discerning the word, and properly handling it with great care and respect. Titus 1, verses 7 to 9. He describes the specific qualifications of a bishop, of an overseer. He must be blameless, as our friend Michael was saying earlier from First Yochanan. We must be sinless. We cannot be sinning actively, seeking the mindset of active sin, and be a believer. Sinner of Hasatan. He's the one who specializes in it. Okay? Must be blameless as a steward of Elohim. Again, the bishop is a steward. Not self-willed, not quick-tempered, not given to wine, not violent, not greedy for money. Hello? Not greedy for money, or desiring, and every other word out of their mouth is gimme, gimme, gimme. But in contrast to that, they must be hospitable, a lover of what is good, sober-minded, just, kadosh, holy, tov, right? Not self-centered, self-controlled, holding fast the faithful word. See, we're holding fast the faithful word, rightly dividing it to make a direct assertion of it and apply it appropriately, not to go beyond it. Okay? That he may be able, holding fast to the faithful word as he has been taught, that he may be able by sound doctrine both to exhort and convict those who contradict. And that's kind of what I'm doing today, right? I'm doing that. Whether I qualify to be classified as a bishop or whatever, I prefer the title Eved, a servant, because a servant, if you declare yourself a servant, people are not going to say, well, you're high and mighty, right? You're a servant. You enter the home through the servant entrance. You're lowly of mind. You don't seek to elevate yourself. 1 Peter 4, verse 10. As each one has received a gift, minister it to one another as good stewards of the manifold grace of Elohim. We good still?
Good.
Okay, just let me know when things get
Mhm.
cracky. Okay, good stewards. Each one of you has received a gift. Again, what is the gift? Is it a limited gift, or is it a genuine gift? One that is given to you, that is a generous gift, which it is. So we minister to one another. And again, minister is to make ourselves minus or less than, because that's what a servant does. He humbles himself, he serves. And by that service, it is given unto him the blessings of faithfulness. Minister it to one another as good stewards of the manifold grace of Elohim. The manifold grace. It's not a one-dimensional, cheapened grace message. It is enriched by the truth that is ministered through faith. One example of false faith or misplaced faith is, after accepting that Messiah has come, not knowing what to do with him once we have him. Oh, he's my personal savior. He's mine. I love my Jesus, my Jesus. Do we know what to do with him? And I know that sounds profane, but a lot of us, oh my Jesus. Be careful. Be careful. You don't know what you're doing with him. And as I quoted before from Luke 6:46, but why do you call me Adon, Adon? Why do you call me Lord, Lord, and do not do the things which I say to do? It's kind of a weird, kind of a strange, insane idea. You're my Lord, but I don't listen to you. You're my king, but I don't serve you. How does that work? How does that work? We suffer these days within the cult of personality. We all but deify that which we desire. Oh, the ideal. Remember Beatlemania? I grew up in the 60s with Beatlemania. I know exactly how people were reacting to Beatlemania with the screaming. In fact, they stopped touring because they couldn't hear themselves perform. The screaming was overwhelming. They literally they were like deaf. They were playing songs, nobody really heard them, but because it was them, and they run after them, and they want a piece of them, and they want, you know, it's cult of personality. And you know what? Yeshua can be the cult of personality. If we think, oh, I love him. I have this beautiful portrait hanging from my. Anytime I look at it, I feel guilty because I love him. I love him. So among believers, true and false, the mature and the immature, is the tendency to worship and idolize the messenger and not heed the message of the person of Messiah, and not to heed the message, the person of Messiah, and not his unique message. And this, by definition, is idolatry. So those who accuse us of being idolatrous, they're not far off the track, because if we're not serving a living, risen sovereign, who's also our high priest, then just by liking the way he looks, liking the way he sounds, like the prophets say, I think it was in Ezekiel, I'm not sure, about he's our entertainer. Play the songs. We want to hear nice songs. They don't want to hear what the message is. They want to be entertained. That's why in Messiah's day, they said, show us a miracle. Prove to us who you are. And he says, I'm not a performing monkey. I'm not some kind of circus act for you. True. I'm here to deliver you from death to life. And we look at Yochanan, chapter 8. This is it, literally what happens. Listen to the transition. You see how the crowd shifts from Beatlemania to critical mass. As Messiah spoke these words, many believed in him. Then he said to the Judeans who believed him, if you abide, again, shamar, if you hold, keep, observe, if you abide in my word, you are my Talmudim indeed. You are my students, faithful students, hearing the teacher, the rabbi, are given good marks, right? You are my Talmudim indeed. And you shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. Okay? Wow, it sounds like good. What's wrong here? So let's skip down to verse 37. I know that you are Abraham's descendants, but you seek to kill me because my word has no place in you, has no room, has no purchase in you. There's no place. So we go from we believe in him to when he's talking to us, we want to kill him because there's no room for his word in us. And I remember the first time I read the New Testament, this wasn't the same Jesus as I was being told about. He could be nasty from time to time, angry at sometimes, but always compassionate, always truthful. But it was a different Jesus than what people made him out to be. It's a different Yeshua that we experience through his word. Okay, there's no room for my word in you. Verse 45 and 47. He says, but because I speak the truth, you do not believe me. He who is of Elohim hears Elohim's words. Therefore, you do not hear because you are not of Elohim. You do not belong to him. You do not meet his criteria. You do not meet the specifics. You do not match. It's not a match. Matchmaker, make us a match. We have to match. We have to be compatible. This isn't speed dating where you go in, you sit down. Like I totally like this. My favorite color is blue. I love dogs. Oh, you love dogs. I'm a cat person. Who are you? Okay, next. We have to be compatible to our Elohim. If we are to be born of him. If it's his household that we are to be stewards of, we got to be simpatico. We got to be on the same wavelength, the same pathway, the same. Okay? You're not of Elohim. We don't know the first thing about him because we don't abide in his word. And it's merely a cult of personality. And that's all it really will be. It'll never really elevate itself beyond that. And it's sad. It's sad. We go to Mark, the Gospel of Marcus, chapter 12. And this is an interesting exchange here for sure. One of the teachers of the Torah, or a scribe, said to Yeshua, "Well said, Rabbi. You are right in saying that Elohim is one, and there is no other but him. To love him with all your heart and all your understanding, with all your strength, and to love your neighbor as yourself is more important than all the burnt offerings and sacrifices." When Yeshua saw that he had answered wisely, he said to him, "You are not far from the kingdom of Elohim." And from then on, no one dared ask him any more questions. So I just think this is funny because Messiah, what's the first and greatest commandment? He tells them, love the Lord, love your neighbors yourself. And one of these scribes saying, well said. I think you meet me on my terms because you understand me. And Messiah turns around saying, well, because you agree with me, you're not far from the kingdom. He doesn't say you're in the kingdom. You're not far. You're almost there. So this condescension of the Torah teacher is turned on its head because Messiah says, you know what? You're a nice little boy too. Let me pat you on the head. You're trying to pat me on my head. You're a good little boy. You believe this. Okay, well, I'm going to pat you on the head and dismiss you because you're not far. You're not there yet, but you're not far. So when we acknowledge the validity of Yeshua's words, we acknowledge them by accepting them, adapting to them, and living by them. We are not far from the kingdom as opposed to those who are merely infatuated with him, because that's what it is. If we say, Lord, Lord, but we don't do what he says, it's an infatuation. It's Beatlemania. Oh, I love Paul. Paul's the cute Beatle. John's the smart one. And George is the quiet one. And Ringo's the funny one. Okay. It's infatuation. I don't know them. And it turns out that John Lennon was pretty horrible to his son. Anyway, getting into Beatles stuff. But it's infatuation. You have this image. You shall not make an image for yourself to worship. And we do. We do. On a conscious level, on a subconscious level. Oh, my Jesus, my Jesus. Oh, he's my Jesus. He's my cute little adorable. It's like they're describing a puppy. He's my cute little puppy, Jesus. He's adorable. You know what he did last night? You know what he did? Come on, people. It's infatuation. It's not love. It's not love. It's either lust, infatuation, but love is very elusive. Love cannot be woken before its time. Love is something that matures like a fine wine. Oh, I love that. Do you really? Based on what? When we're teenagers and our hormones are racing, we know so little. That's why that song, I wish that I knew then what I know now. But you can't turn the time back. But we can get right with Elohim. We can go back and say, you know what? Father, forgive me. I thought I knew it. I thought I was, but I'm hearing words of conviction here. I'm hearing things that resound of truth. It sounds right. So what do we do? The gospel. This is the gospel of truth. Habesarah. Philippians chapter 3. I'm reading chapter 3 of Philippians. We still good, Regina?
Yeah, just watch your foot.
Watch my foot?
Like, don't go.
Okay.
Yeah.
Was that distracting?
No, because I think just doing that might set off the camera.
Okay, so something's not right with the connection here. Okay. Anyway, I just hope that you're hearing this, not because my voice is so worthy of hearing it. There's so much here. Okay. Verse 17 of chapter 3. Brethren, join in following my example, and note those who so walk, as you have us for a pattern. Okay. He also said elsewhere, follow me as I follow Messiah. Somebody, that sounds arrogant. No, he's saying, look, you can see me. Messiah isn't here, okay? But you can see me, how I conduct myself, how I behave myself, how I work among the community, not becoming a liability but a benefit. I'm not here to rip anybody off, etc., etc. Learn from the pattern that we're leaving for you. You have us as a pattern. For many walk, of whom I have often told you, and now tell you even weeping, that they are enemies of the execution stake of Messiah, of the cross, right? For many walk. And again, he's talking about those within the community. He's not talking about some godless neighbor down offering sacrifices to false deities. He's talking about, uh, um, Yitzhak, who was here last week, sitting right there. This is what he's an enemy of the execution stake. He's an enemy of the cross, whose end is destruction, whose Elohim is their belly, and whose glory is in their shame. Sound familiar? Who set their mind on earthly things. And there are a lot of believers who are kind of on the fence and kind of trying to get the benefit of both things. Like Achan, who was told, take nothing, but found something that appealed to him, and he took it. Just foolish, right? Don't set your mind on earthly things, things of this world. For our citizenship is in heaven, from which we also eagerly wait for our Savior, Adon Yeshua the Messiah, who will transform our lowly body that it may be conformed to his glorious body, according to the working by which he is able even to subdue all things to himself. Okay. The working by which he is able to even subdue all things to himself. He's the Lord of all. He needs to be respected as such. Not my little Jesus. Blasphemy. He's the sovereign of all things. The light that he shines permeates the universe from one end to the other. We can't trivialize. 1 Corinthians 6:14. 1 Corinthians 6:14. Do you not know that your bodies are members of Messiah himself? So again, we need to remind ourselves, as he is, so are we. If we are one with him, as he thinks, so do we. As he does, so must we. Simpatico, on the same side, the same team. He's the manager, though. He's the manager. We wear the same uniform. We're in the same dugout, waiting for our turn at bat. But we got to play a good defense. We have to have good pitching, right? We can't fast forward to the end of the ninth inning. We got to make sure that each inning, each pitch counts. And so be faithful in everything that we do. So must we. 1 John 3:1-2. 1 Yochanan Echad 3, the first two verses. It goes on to say the world does not know us. And in essence, implying that we should not know the world either. Doesn't know us. Again, we're not on the same wavelength as the world because we are within a community, within a body. Because it did not know him. Beloved, now we are children of Elohim, and it has not yet been revealed what we shall be. But we know that when he is revealed, we shall be like him, for we shall see him as he is. So what's better than that? What's possibly better than that, right? We don't know everything about what's going to, and see, Yochanan is not pretentious. Oh, this is how it's going to be. This is exactly. He says, I'm like you. We're waiting for the great to happen, so we don't know the fullness of it, but we do know that we shall see him as he is, and we shall be like him. Great. Revelation 9:10. The testimony of Yeshua is the spirit of prophecy. Again, what he testified, not the testimony about Yeshua, but the testimony of Yeshua coming forth from him, not about him. Messiah is the one who is acting. So his testimony is what he's saying, what he's testifying against us. Even as Yahweh speaks in the Tanakh, when he says, I call heaven and earth against you as witnesses this day. And then he goes on to say whatever he says, right? Who they are testifying of the spirit of prophecy. 2 Corinthians 2, okay? And do you remember, just say something if I'm off.
Yeah.
2 Corinthians 2, 17, 18. And I'm really blessed that you're hanging in there with us. And I just pray that you get the blessing out of this, because a lot of sweat went into this, a lot of prayer went into this. And it's not me. This is the words as they just follow one after another. 2 Corinthians 3, 17, 18. Now Yahweh is the Spirit, and where the Spirit of Yahweh is, there is liberty, there is freedom, true freedom, set free. The truth will set you free. There'll be true freedom from the Spirit of Yahweh. But we all, with unveiled faces, beholding as if in a mirror the glory of Yahweh, are being transformed into the same image from glory to glory, just as by the Spirit of Yahweh. So this is a great, amazing promises we're seeing on this portion I'm sharing. It's astounding. What awaits us is stunning. And again, going back to these theologies where man promotes himself and promotes his own doctrines and teachings. Again, back then, in the 1800s, there wasn't the same accessibility that we have to the Bible. We all have, how many Bibles do you have in your home? I without even lifting my head or looking around, I must have about 20 Bibles more. Oh no, I have copies of others. I got probably like 100 easily, right? So we have access to that. We have access to YouTube. We have access to the internet to do searches, to do testing. We have access to concordances and studies, histories. We have all this stuff. So people back then, which is, well, he sounds like he knows what he's talking about, and he's going to do the teaching for us, so we'll just kind of follow. Because in his own mind, what he's teaching and what they continue to propagate seem to be right. So there are dark secrets behind many of the things that are considered holy by the efforts and traditions of man. Again, look at the damage caused by Darby and Schofield. We've been led to believe many things that we have been told through the years are somehow that are beneficial to us, whether we understand them or not. Don't rock the boat. Just continue to do more of the same. It's pretty much the opinion of most of the congregations, right? Well, we don't think that. We don't teach that. We don't. And when you confront them with what the word says, well, we just don't do that. Okay, and that's what they'll ultimately keep coming back with. Well, that's your ticket out. Well, if you don't do that, I got to find some people who do that. Okay, we must be challenged by the word, not just simply do the work. Do the work, as Paul says, do the work of an evangelist, and rightly divide the word, rightly understand the word, rightly teach the word. It applies to us. It really does. Okay, we're stuck on words. And we continue to allow flawed terms to apply to us and even to define us. We do, and I'm going to give you a prime example. And again, don't hate me for this, but I want to teach you something about the word for church, churke, or cirque, and where that comes from. And some people say, well, the word church, what it means, it doesn't have a literal definition except for where it's primarily from the book of Homer. Okay, so church, like for instance, the ecclesia to Theo, it's a congregation or a set apart group of Elohim. You could be an ecclesia of pornography. You can. The holiness does not come from the assembly. It's the assembly of what? Of who? The Kahal Ha-Elohim is a congregation or community of Elohim. A Kahal in and of itself is nothing. So people, when they want to say the word church, they want to imply that somehow the Greek word for theos or Lord are somehow at the basis of this. Well, that's false too, because all that it means to convey is a community, that Yahweh is not in that word. It's that word implies those who are attached to him. So again, the word church is universally referred to as a feminine. It is agreed that it originates from Circe, the Greek name for the daughter of Helios, the deity of the sun. Okay? If we read from the book of Homer, the Odyssey, book 10, 210. So again, this is the writings of Homer. They called her Circe, or Chirke, and she came down, unfastened the door, and bade them to enter. Then, thinking no evil, they followed her, all except Eurylochus, who suspected mischief and stayed outside. He stayed outside. When she had got them into her house, she sat them upon benches and seats. Sounds like a nice church, right? Nice benches and seats, and mixed them a mess with cheese, honey, meal, and Piamnian wine, but she drugged it with wicked poisons to make them forget their homes, to forget the true bait, the true house, the true home. And when they had drunk, she turned them into pigs by a stroke of her wand, and she shut them up in the pigsties. And they were like pigs, head, hair, and all, and they grunted just like pigs do, but their senses were the same as before, and they remembered everything. So again, it sounds like a typical church meeting, and um, about what happens the sensational dispensational poison by turning them into unclean animals. We become trafe when we're contaminated by things that are unclean or impure. So it was a house of enchantments. A circus, it's also a word that comes from Circe. The ring, the greatest show on earth, performed weekly, a bargain at twice the price of admission. All right? So this myth gives insight to the gospel account of the Gadarene demoniac. When Yeshua exorcised the man of the legion of demons, he allowed them to flee into a herd of pigs, only to drown in the Sea of Galilee. And literally, it's the Sea of the Circle. The Galil is a circle, Circe. So William Tyndale, who was blessed of Yahweh, translated the Greek word ecclesia as congregation, not church, which was in the Vatican translation. Okay, in his English Bible of 1526, it would literally eventually cost him his life. He would be murdered because of a translation into English of the Bible. And he was a brilliant linguistic individual. He was a contemporary of Shakespeare, and he was considered the most brilliant English writer. Okay, they're coming to get me. Who told on me? Okay. So this cost him his life, this accurate translation. He only used the word church for heathen temples. Oy. So he translated ecclesia as congregation, the correct translation, okay? The only time he used churche was in Acts 19:37, when it's speaking of a heathen temple. For you, and it was spoken by a city clerk in Ephesus. It says, "For you have brought these men here who are neither robbers of temples, nor blasphemers of your goddess." So again, that's the only time he allowed that word to come in. Now, Tyndale is murdered. His book, his Bible circulates, but now King James, when he authorized the English version of his Bible in 1611, less than 100 years later, he established 15 rules that bound the translators. Hence, the word Easter is used in Acts 12, verse 4. You'll find Easter there in the King James Bible, the authorized version. Article 3 stated, "The old ecclesiastical words are to be kept and reinstated." The word church cannot be translated congregation. Okay, says a lot. The biblical scholar Andrew Edgar, in his work, The Bibles of England, explains the church over ecclesia controversy. James believed, or Jimmy, King James, and again, we can thank King James for translating all the Jacobs in the New Covenant as James. James, the brother of Yeshua, I will always call him Yaakov, because that's his name. You can even look at the Greek transliteration of the name Yaakov. It's there, it's not James. And all the Joshuas are Jesus's. And that's a subject for another time. Okay. I don't know what's going on there. I'm sorry. Oh man. Ay ay ay. This is a message that the devil doesn't want to go out there. He's having trouble with the transmission, having trouble with all this interference. So again, we need to know our identity. We need to know the legacy that we've been inheriting. Okay. Okay. In the book, Andrew Edgar, as he talks about the Bibles of England, James believed in the divine right of kings and held to this right, and that this right was hereditary, and that the king was responsible to God alone and not to his subjects. As defender of the faith and head of the state church, he came into opposition with the Puritans on the one hand and the Catholics on the other, and their papal claims. In his struggles with both, he was motivated by a combination of religious and political considerations to, again, to do that, to keep the word church, put the word church back in. And today, if you pick up a Tyndale Bible, guess what? The word church is there. It's not congregation. So even though it says Tyndale, they don't honor Tyndale with the not the change that he made, but the correct accuracy of his translation. Terrible, right? But this corruption of the Bible by King James, inserting the name of the sun goddess Cherke, pales in comparison to the distortions of Christianity made by the first king of the Catholic Rome. Constantine continued to worship the god Sol Invictus, which is the invincible sun, until his death. He claimed Dies Solis, Sunday, as the only official and only acceptable day of rest and worship for the empire on March 7th, 321. So the 4th century was a devastating year regarding Christianity. So we can actually see of that age minted coins bearing Helios, the sun deity, and the father of the sun goddess, Cherke. So you have a sun god and a Cherke, a daughter, just like the community of believers referred to as the daughter of Elohim. So literally the church is the daughter of Helios, the sun, the S-O-N, not the S-O-N. Okay, and we see the sun deity is crowned with spiked rays on this coin. And Constantine established the nativity on the pagan date of the birth of the sun, December 25th. The mystery of Revelation invokes the same circumstances, okay? This is especially manifest in the feminine version of the church as the solar counterfeit of the Kahal Ecclesia, the called out community of Yahweh. We are to be kadosh, set apart, and living above reproach, not tainted by false titles and designations, allowing the world to define us by terms that I find unsavory because they have the taint of the world. Why would we want that? It's like somebody calling your wife, thank you, but no thank you. Okay, your connection is unstable. Please wait while we connect. Okay, any difference in the hearing?
A little crackly, but not bad.
Okay. Okay. All right, now there's another interesting little part here. In this world, there are many false representations that we continue to deem as okay. And there's a term, a diaphora, which refers to matters, which the Bible appears to be indifferent. Don't really specifically say this way or that way. Okay. So one example, okay, as you saw in the description, I mentioned this Liberty. The Statue of Liberty was built in 1885 and is situated in the midst of the waters in the harbor of New York, which was recognized as the capital of the world. That's why the World Trade Center was a big target and so on, okay? It was designed by Frederick August Barthold in 1875, 10 years earlier. Before beginning the project, he sought a commission for the construction of a giant statue of Isis, the Egyptian goddess, the Queen of Heaven, to overlook the Suez Canal. It was essentially the same design that he used on the Statue of Liberty. Okay, so we think of her as being so virtuous, but we see Mystery Babylon religion represented in the vision of her. Okay, this unused design of the statue of Isis was a robed woman holding a torch, modeled closely on the Colossus of Rhodes, which is an image of Helios. See how it all comes together? Full circle, or Chirke, full circle. This design was finally utilized in the construction of the Statue of Liberty, who wears the same spiked crown and holds a torch. The torch was originally intended to be a cup. Hello. But later a flame was added to its center, Revelation 17:4, having in her hand a cup full of abominations and filthiness of her fornication. Okay? In verse Revelation, that's 17:4, and then you skip to 15:16. The waters which you saw where the horse sits are peoples and multitudes, nations and tongues, and the woman which you saw is that great city which reigns over the kings of the earth. Okay, so the mystery of Babylon religion has its root in that location. Okay, dealing with all the nations, all the tongues, all the languages. We have the United Nations right there. And New York has always been such a diverse melting pot, or not really a melting pot because they're all distinct from each other. It should have been more of a melting pot, but it wasn't. We're all clinging to our heritage till we can't hold on to them any longer. And there's 25 windows in the crown that are intended to symbolize gemstones found on the earth and in the heavens, and the rays of influence shining over the world. Okay? The 7 rays of the statue represent the 7 seas and the 7 continents of the world. The most intriguing connection to Revelation that this, and I'm reading something that was actually from a book called The Temple at the Center of Time by a fellow named David Flynn, who those of you might be familiar with his research and his writings. But he was genuinely a God-fearer, and he a lot of his teachings are based on biblical and distances and statute miles and nautical miles, and he comes up with some pretty amazing conclusions. Okay. The most intriguing connection to Revelation that the statue exhibits is not in its appearance, but in the distance from the Temple of Jerusalem. America has long been considered a utopian land, designated by the founding fathers as a country of freedom and liberty. Its laws are clearly based on Plato's philosophy and is largely extracted from his work called The Laws. The Platonic relationship is defined by the mutual benefits shared between citizen and state. This value was emphasized by Plato as embodied in the number 5040, 5040, as the perfect city of Magnesia was designed around this number, a city that is dedicated to the commerce of the entire world, such as New York. So this should relate to it in the same way. As Magnesia was, so is New York. And again, built around the 5040, okay? So the Statue of Liberty is 5,706 statute miles from Jerusalem. And when we add those two together, this is 5,040 plus 666 is 5,706. So again, the connection between the Whore of Babylon and the New York and the Statue of Liberty, and representing virtue that we all aspire to. You know, and a lot of people believe that send us your weary, or whatever it says on the plaque there, is part of the Constitution or part of the Declaration. It's not. It's on a statue, a French statue that was originally designed to be Isis looking over the Suez Canal, declaring the sovereignty of the Queen of Heaven, again related to Helios and Chirke. Okay, so Babylon the Great will once again fall. Okay, it will fall as it did in the past. So we need to be careful of our allowances, the things that we think are cool and are good, and we look to these things for inspiration. Be careful of the foundation. Be careful of their origins. We need to be careful of these things. We have access to information these days that our parents didn't have. So again, dispensations can and will continue to divide us, not unite us. So the teaching is not created for unity. unless it's the type of unity that's created by a lynch mob. And it will, once again, as we are persecuted, there will be lynch mobs that are of united people who have fallen away from the truth. Terrible. So we need to be aware of this thing, okay? It's not created for unity, but for division. Again, Israel, church, dual covenant, all this other stuff. Our message is one of unity, and it is extremely time sensitive. So that's why now we need to be aware of this. Just as I shared last week about some Antichrist entering into a third temple in Israel that we have to wait to be built and declaring himself to be a deity, where we've seen all this evidence that we are the temple, the body of Messiah is the living stones, is this, is that. And I showed, and I'm going to refer to last week's stuff. I'm not going to revisit that. But last week I laid that all out very clearly. And that the teachings of dispensationalism are going to infiltrate, and they're going to permeate, and they're going to contaminate from within. Again, as we shared, Scripture says there's got to be divisions among you to show the genuine as being the true elect. So it's going to happen. Not maybe, but it will happen. Okay? So we need to be careful. We need to be wary of these things. And again, once various parts of the body accept these things, when the anti-Messiah does arrive, they're going to find that he is going to embody all these new teachings, and they're going to put him right in their midst, and he will be able to sit in their midst, not literally, but spiritually and in reality. So check that out. Okay, and it's time sensitive because it's today. We don't have to wait for a temple to be rebuilt before this happens. There's so many smug religious folk who are waiting. Well, once the temple is built, and it's who knows when that's going to be, we'll be evacuated. We'll never get to see this character, so we'll be safe in heaven when all hell breaks loose. Whereas the word tells us that we're not appointed for wrath, not from him, but persecution we will endure, and it starts now. So don't wait for it. This message is time sensitive. Today is the acceptable day to be found as faithful stewards, since we are been entrusted to a kadosh stewardship. So kadosh behavior should define us by the agape, by our love. We're defined by our agape love. Love in action. Love that is sacrificial, that gives, doesn't seek to take, but seeks to give and to give and to give some more. It's a giving thing. It's all about that. We administer, we empty ourselves into the service. We become minus, we become less than. We don't esteem others higher than ourselves. We are humbled, and he's the one who lifts us up. He's the one who fills us up. So thank you for that, Father. 2 Corinthians chapter 6. So we've been entrusted with a stewardship that we are to take care of the house. We are the household, in charge of the house. We are the serving staff. Make sure that things run smoothly, whether the master is in or whether he takes a visit somewhere else. 2 Corinthians chapter 6, first 2 verses. We then, as workers together with him, also plead with you not to receive the grace of Elohim in vain. And if we're just using grace as we all sin, we all fall short, we're all this, we're all that, and grace not works, and that whole false teaching which tries to define grace as something that we get regardless of how we behave. It's given to us. So the pornographer can continue to have his grace and have his pornography. The drug abuser, the drug dealer, again, Christians held in high esteem. Because why? Because they have grace, unmerited favor. Whether they deserve it or not, you got it. Just like with these checks coming in, these what do they call them? These stimulus checks that are coming to a lot of people. You didn't have to work for it, but you're getting it because the government told you not to work. So it's not exactly the same, because they basically are trying to ruin your careers indirectly or directly, depending on which way you want to spin it. Okay. So as workers together, as we work together, and also together with him, the vertical and the horizontal, we need to minister to each other, work together, and working with and for him. As we work, we're doing his work. We are the body. He's the head. Messiah's the head. We are the body, actively performing and fulfilling the duties that have been given to us to do. Okay? Okay. For he says, in an acceptable time I've heard you, and in the day of salvation I have helped you. Behold, hine, now is the accepted time. Behold, now is the day of Yeshua, of salvation. Today is the acceptable day. Hebrews chapter 3. And I'm going to wrap it up here. Hebrews 3. You can turn with me. Hebrews 3, verses 6 through 8. Messiah as son over his own house, whose house we are. You got that? He's the son over his own house, whose house we are. We are his house. We are the body of Messiah. When Paul was on the way to Damascus, says, why do you persecute me? He says, when do I persecute you, Messiah? He's persecuting the brethren. He's persecuting him. And again, here's a big if. If we hold fast the confidence, confides, with faith, if we hold fast the confidence, the faith, at the rejoicing of the hope, firm to the end, not tenuous, but firm. Therefore, as the Holy Spirit says, today, if you will hear his voice, do not harden your hearts as in the rebellion, in the day of trial in the wilderness, quoting the Psalm. Again, as Lord of the house. Verse 12 to 14. Beware, brethren, lest there be any of you an evil heart of unbelief in departing from the living Elohim, El Chai. But exhort one another daily, while it is still called today, lest any of you be hardened through the deceitfulness of sin. Sin is deceitful. You know, it speaks in its own defense. And, well, what you're doing is not that bad. It's not that bad. The police are coming to arrest you. Who gave you up? Exactly. Who gave us up? Okay. Well, that seemed to quiet down. That's the craziest that I remember coming down this block here, which is a pretty quiet neighborhood, actually. But I'm not going to tell you where, because you come looking for me. Okay. Sin is deceitful. So it's not so bad. Let it be. Again, we're going back to Beatlemania. Let it be, let it be. Okay. For we have become partakers of Messiah if, spoke too soon, if we hold the beginning of our confidence steadfast to the end, the same enthusiasm, the same resoluteness. A lot of us, when we first were on fire for the Lord, the fires eventually dim. It's like a marriage, you know. When you're courting, I could think of nothing but my wife. I could think of nothing, and then you married, you have kids, and then you're comfortable, and you kind of gel into one person, and we help each other, and we're there for each other, and so on and so forth. So there's a maturing of the relationship, but we need to be passionate. We need to have that same passion straight through to the very end. That steadfast, that confidence, that faith needs to be steadfast to the very end. So we need to redeem the time. We need to be that faithful steward, always at the ready. Again, the ethics, the ethos of Theos, the ethics of Elohim, the truth, the behavior that we need to exhibit. Because dispensations are saying, well, this is law. We build a wall between law and grace. And again, never the twain shall meet. But it's false. It's false. We need to be faithful. We need to be people of character, people who are resolute in their purpose of serving and being a light, being faithful. We need to be faithful. Confidence. We need to be confident, not arrogant. A lot of people, because they feel they know the truth, exhibit a level of arrogance along the way. And we are to be arrogant. We are to be stubborn and unmovable. But we need to Share the truth in love. We need to be faithful stewards because we've been entrusted with the stewardship. And again, that whole dispensational stuff, you know, that word was chosen by King Jimmy or one of his cohorts, but it is everything to do with service, everything to do with a rendering of our duties to serve the Lord, not to seek glory for ourselves, but to serve and to serve the Lord and to be faithful to the very end, holding on that same enthusiasm, that same desire for justice, that same desire for Him, to seek His face, to seek His truth, with the same passionate desire from the to the very end. We need to stoke the coals and keep that flame going. The unquenchable fire needs to be burning in our belly, and we need to be thinking of that moving forward, because this message is time sensitive. We can't sit on it. We can't wait. Today is the acceptable day of Yeshua. Amen. Amen. So be faithful stewards. Be faithful in all that we put our hands to. If you put your hand to the plow and look back, you're not fit for the kingdom. You got to get right. You got to be faithful in all things. So again, we now enter into the portion of our service. Still good?
Yeah, it stopped.
It stopped. And we're going to give you the contact information. We are Beth Tefilah, Messianic Congregation. That means house of prayer, as it says in Isaiah chapter 56, Beth Tefilah for all the nations. Beth Tefilah Messianic Congregation, Inc., P.O. Box 170384, Post Office Box 170384, Ozone Park, New York, 11417, Ozone Park, New York, 11417. Okay, our email is milkakkorn@aol.com. And you see our phone number right there. Call us anytime. Give us a sense of how we're doing. If we're getting through, literally that we're getting through to you, and spiritually that these words are resounding. Yeah, I agree with you. That's how I always felt. I just never really gave it voice because people would give me a hard time. And I say now is the time to not worry about people giving you a hard time, but to be faithful and come out from among them. If they're teaching things that are opposed to what we're saying here, and it's not me. You're not insulting me, no matter how you try. We need to be faithful. We need to be faithful people. Okay. At this time, we will do the 10 words, the Devarim, as they're referred to, the 10 commandments, as we see in Deuteronomy chapter 5, verses 1 and follows. Thank you, Abba. And Moshe called all Israel and said to them, Shema Yisrael, hear, all Israel, the statutes and judgments which I speak in your hearing today, that you may learn them and be careful to observe them. Yahuwah, our Elohim, made a covenant with us at Horeb. Yahuwah did not make this covenant with our fathers, but with us, those who are here today, all of us who are alive. Yahuwah talked with you face to face on the mountain in the midst of the fire. I stood between you and at that time. I declared to you the word of Yahuwah, to declare to you the word of Yahuwah. For you were afraid because of the fire, and you did not go up to the mountain. And he said, I am Yahuwah, I am Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh, I am the eternal Yah, your Elohim, who brought you out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. You shall have no other Elohim beside me. You shall not make for yourself a carved image, any likeness of anything that is in the heavens above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the waters under the earth. You shall not bow down to them nor serve them, idols. Pictures of JC, no good. For I, Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh, Yahuwah, your Elohim, am a jealous Elohim, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children, to the third and fourth generation of those who hate me, but showing love, mercy to thousands, to those who love me and keep my mitzvot, my commandments. You shall not take the name of Yahuwah your Elohim in vain, for Yahuwah will not hold him guiltless who takes his name in vanity. Observe the Sabbath day to guard it as kadosh, as holy, as Yahweh your Elohim commanded you. 6 days you may labor and do all your work, but the seventh day is the Shabbat of Yahweh your Elohim, and you shall do no work, you nor your son nor your daughter, nor your male servant nor your female servant, nor your ox nor your donkey, nor any of your cattle, nor your stranger who is within your gates, that your male servant and your female servant may rest and cease from all activity, as well as you. And remember that you were a slave in the land of Egypt, Mitzrayim, and Yahweh your Elohim brought you out from there by a mighty hand and an outstretched arm. Therefore Yahweh your Elohim commanded you to guard, to observe, to keep the Sabbath day. Honor your father and your mother, as Yahweh your Elohim has commanded you, that your days may be long and that it may be well with you in the land which Yahweh your Elohim has given you. You shall not murder. You shall not commit adultery. You shall not steal. You shall not bear false witness against your neighbor. You shall not covet your neighbor's wife. You shall not desire your neighbor's house, his field, his male servant, his female servant, his ox, his donkey, or anything that is your neighbor's. These words the eternal Yahweh spoke to all your assembly in the mountain from the midst of the fire, the cloud, and the thick darkness, with a loud voice, Mos alto. And he added no more, and he wrote them on 2 tablets of stone and gave them to me. Amen. 5, 10, 15, 23. 23. Got to mention that before. Number 23. We are here today, and today's the first time we've been challenged by the quality of the recording. So I'm a little concerned, but not overly so. And I thank you for enduring with us and hanging with us. And I pray that we would be able to, again, communicate with each other on these things and be faithful. I just want to say a brief prayer. Beth Tefilah, we've had our prayer time, but I want to pray with you and that the Eternal would meet your needs. Abba, Avinu Malkeinu, we thank you so much this day. We thank you for your goodness, for your mercies. We pray that you would continue to abide with us as we abide with you, Abba. That you would be our Elohim and we would be your people. And we are grateful. We are grateful for this day that is called today, this day that is called Shabbat. So we are thankful for your goodness and your mercies, that you watch over us and you lead us onwards, Abba, and that we would make progress and be faithful. And in the midst of testing, that we would come out smelling like a rose, that we would be doing what we need to be doing. And we're grateful, Father, for your guidance, for your instruction, for your leading. Abba, I pray, especially at this time with this virus still floating around, even though it seems to be lower in this area of the world, that you keep people safe, keep people doing what we need to do, which makes sense, keeping distant, keeping clean, and not being in large groups and what have you. So we've been doing this for a few weeks now, and I just pray that we can continue to do this until we can once again meet together face to face and still continue to produce these programs, these teachings, Father. Just guide us. And I pray that you would meet the need of all those who would cry out to you, Abba. That we be faithful, Abba. That first and foremost, we would be your Kahal Elohim. We would be your Ecclesia Tuthea. We would be uniquely yours. We would be the body of Mashiach, the living stones of the true holy house, the Beit HaMikdash, the true holy house of the Most High, where your Ruach dwells, where your Spirit dwells, Father. And we thank you for this. We pray for greater discernment with regards to the foolishness and the wickedness and the lawlessness that continues to threaten to overwhelm, Father. So we thank you once again. In all things we give you praise in Yeshua's name. Amen. Amen. Okay, I'm looking at the time. It's 2:24. I think I have enough time to do my second shorter teaching because I have it written down already. Psalm 1. Psalm 1 is good because it teaches us the ways of life and the ways of death. 2 ways. There's 2 ways to look at these things. And we need to be faithful. Stop, look, and listen. There's a progression. There's a progression of good behavior. There's a progression of bad behavior. So we will look into these matters as we look at Psalm number 1. Echad. So let us proceed. Psalm 1, the lesson that it has to teach us. Okay? Lashrei ha'ish, Ashrei, blessed or very happy, is the man. Ashrei ha'ish, ish and isha is woman, is the man. Asher hu lo halach, who does not walk. And again, halach is the way to walk. Halacha is the teaching on how we conduct ourselves along the journey, how we behave ourselves. Blessed is the man who does not walk ba'atzat reshaim, who does not walk in the counsel ba'asat ra'ashim, of the wicked ones. Rasha is wicked, is evil. Okay, in the counsel of the wicked. U vederech, or in the way of, that's the path. Derech emunah is the path of truth. But these are, blessed is the man who does not walk in the counsel of the wicked, or in the way ha-tzaim, of sinners. Hataim, I'm sorry. We get the word hate. Hate is sin. Okay? Walk in the way of sinners. Chetim. Hate is sin. Chetim are those who do sin. Lo amad, and does not stand. U ve moshav, does not stand in the seat of sinners. Okay. Le tzim, the ones mocking. Lo yashav, he does not sit. Okay. So I always look at this first verse as being a warning and alert of the progression that sin makes. We don't walk in the way. We don't go down that particular street because we know that it's trouble. We don't walk down that street. And once we're walking down the street, something catches our attention. We stand for a second. We listen to it. And then if it's something that's appealing, we sit. So walk, stand, sit. There's a progression. So if we walk, and if we do this, if we avoid these three things, we are blessed, we are happy. Who walks not in the counsel of the wicked ones, or in the way, or in the seat of or in the or in the way of sinners, nor he does not stand, and in the seat of those mocking, he does not sit. Okay, that's Psalm 1, verse 1. Okay, Chi'im, but rather, okay, contrary to that previous, he does not walk, stand, or sit in areas of compromise in his life, but he stands adamantly opposed to that. But rather, betorat Yahuwah, in the Torah of Yahuwah, chefzo, but in the Torah of Yahuwah, he finds delight, he finds pleasure. As I said before, that people think of pleasure as being all worldly, but we find pleasure in Torah. We find pleasure in the personification of that which is pure and kadosh, which is holy. But rather on the Torah of Adonai, Yahuwah, he delights. Okay. U vetorato yegel, but in the Torah of him, he meditates. The word of the word can be to study, to imagine, to mutter. He meditates. Okay? Yomam, by day, va la ye la. Va laila, by day and by night. Okay? But on the Torah of Yahweh, he delights him. Torah, he meditates day and night. So he finds the Lord worth his investment of time, and not in foolishness, but in that which benefits him and gives him joy and blessings. Okay. V'haya, Cha'etz. He is like a tree. He is like a tree. Sha'tul. That is planted, that is grounded. Not a tree that's wayward or a stump, but a green, pleasant tree planted. Al palge, planted by streams, mayim, of water, of waters. He's like a tree planted by streams of waters. And as a result of being accessible to the mayim chaim, the living waters, asher perev, pereo, Pirio, which yields yatain, which yields fruit. So the tree is planted, is grounded, and it's by streams of waters. And fruit, he yields fruit. Be'ito, be'ito, of him. Va elehu, fruit he yields in its proper season, and his leaf, the leaf of him, and the leaf of him. Lo yibol, he does not wither, he does not fade away. He stands firm and unhindered and unswayed by circumstances. Vehul asher, and all that Ya'aseh, he does, Yatz Yetzlich, Yetzlich, he prospers. He withers not. All that he does prospers. He succeeds. He does not fade away. He's not easily intimidated. He moves forward with purpose, distinction, and direction. So again, we see this is what we do. This is what we should do. This is how we should expect. Our expectations should be high as a result of this. By being dedicated to Yahweh and by being faithful to keep his words, we can expect these things. And now we see the other side of the coin. Lochein ha re shi im, but not so, not so, not yes, not so the wicked ones. Again, hareshim, sha'im, the condemned, the ungodly, but not so the ungodly. Ki im kamotz, but rather, kamotz, like the chaff, or the chametz, which is sounds a very similar word, the chametz, the contaminant, but rather like the chaff. Okay, asher ti de fa nu, tid fanu. He blows away. I'm trying to. My writing here is really bad. I apologize for that. But rather like the chaff that blows away. He blows away. He's dismissed. The wind blows it away. Ruach. Okay. Asher tid fe nu ruach. That blows, the wind that blows him away. Dismisses him. He's unacceptable. There's no weight to plant him. There's no gravity that grabs hold of his roots, brings him down into the soil, where his roots can be nourished from the abundant waters. This is what they will receive. They will receive for their efforts. They receive destruction. They're blown away. They're like chaff. There's no weight. There's no substance. As opposed to the fruit, they have chaff. Al ken, for this, lo yakumu, for this they will not stand. They will not stand. Who will not stand? Reshaim. Again, the Reshaim, the wicked. For this, the wicked will not stand. Okay, so it gives you a reason. This is why the wicked will not stand. That's not generally in the translations. Bamish pat, in the judgment. For this reason, the wicked will not stand in the judgment. Will not stand in the judgment. Vecha Ta'im, or sinners, those who miss the mark. Chet, missing the mark. Ba'adat, in the assembly. The assembly. Tzadikim. So you see the word tzadik there. Nor will sinners be in the assembly of the righteous ones. There's no place left for them. They won't be in the assembly of the righteous because they've chosen to go against the grain, to do things foolishly, to not be planted by the streams of quiet, still waters. Ki, Yodea, for watching over, okay, for watching over is Yahuwah, watching over, for Yahuwah is watching over, okay? Derech, the way, tzadikim, the way of the righteous, derech, reshi'im, okay? For Yahuwah is watching over the way of the righteous ones, but the way of the wicked ones, toved, will perish. She will perish. Okay, he watches over the way of the righteous, but the wicked ones will perish. The ones that he watches over, he is the Elohim of the living, not the Elohim of the dead, right? He came to give us life, everlasting life, not destruction. So the ones that are living, as we just read with Moshe, the Torah goes to those who are alive, to living. Doesn't benefit the dead. Doesn't benefit the children in the womb directly. But you are here, you are alive, and he is El Chai, he is the living Elohim, right? For Elohim is watching over the way of the righteous, but the way of the wicked will perish, will die. So think like, act like, and become like the way of the righteous, and not the way of the wicked. And we do that by pursuing and emulating Messiah, to walk as he walked, to be as he was and is, living to make intercession for us. We are to be faithful to him. And I'm going to read a few verses. Matthew 7, verses 13 and 14. I'll read some scriptures. Enter through the narrow gate. I'm almost finished. How am I sounding now?
Good. Still good.
A little crackling?
No.
No crackling.
No.
No snap, crackle, and pop. No Rice Krispies. Okay. Matthew 7, 13 and 14. Enter through the narrow gate, for wide is the gate, and broad is the road that leads to destruction, and many enter through it. But narrow is the gate, and difficult the way that leads to life, and only a few find it. It's difficult because it involves you. It involves you. The world wants a passive thing. You don't work, you don't eat. You don't involve and invest yourself, you don't get it. You don't get it. And I mean that both ways. You don't specifically get it, and you're not getting it. You don't get it. So you have to be alive and actively participating in your own life and your own future. Sounds pretty basic to me. No brain surgery, a license to perform brain surgery is needed. And few will find it. Few. Broad is the other way. 2 Corinthians 6, 17 and 6:17 to 7:1. Therefore, come out from them and be separate, says Yahuwah. Touch no unclean thing, and I will receive you. I will be a father to you. And again, we can look at Isaiah 52:11 and Ezekiel 20:34 to 41. Come on out. Come on out. And you will be my sons and daughters, says Yahuwah Tzvaot of hosts. 2 Samuel 7:14, 7:8. Okay. So again, there will be divisions, there will be disruptions within our communities, but that's only natural. Messiah told us beforehand, see that you're not discouraged, see that you're not stressed out and overwhelmed by that, but come out from these places that are places where that's the presiding opinion, that you are sticking out like a well thumb, not like a sore thumb, but like a well thumb. You need to get out of these places. You need to establish your roots in a place where you can grow and where your fruit will be properly growing in its season. You will know the tree by the fruit that it bears. No bad tree bears good fruit. No good tree bears bad fruit. So we need to be good trees. We need to be properly planted and grounded in His truth, not in false assumptions and vague promises. Since we have these promises, dear friends, let us purify, cleanse ourselves from all filthiness of the flesh that contaminates body and spirit, perfecting holiness out of reverence and fear for Yahuwah, for the eternal Yah. I'm looking at 1 John chapter 5. He who has the Son has life. He who does not have the Son does not have life. Again, so many of these formulas are like mathematical equations, and they're straightforward. There's no debating what's being said there. And again, 1 John is hugely challenging when we limit our horizons and our understanding. Don't believe, behave, and belong to the ungodly. Again, walking by the way, standing, and then sitting. You see how that progress takes place, right? You're walking waywardly, all right? We're walking our own way. Lead us not into temptation. Don't let it allow us to enter a place of testing. This is a testing. The Psalms speak of this. The Word speaks of it all the time. We should not be tempted beyond our means, and we are not. So we shouldn't be in the neighborhood. We're on our way. We're walking on our way, not His way. We waywardly, and as a result, we enter into temptation. We enter into a time of testing. And so we stand after something gets our attention, and then we eventually sit and we become partakers of the same foolishness. Okay, so we see the progression, steadily growing apostasy. And the falling away, the Greek word is where we get the word apostasy from. It's apostasizing, turning away. And Hebrews 6 tells us, don't think this is a quick fix if you turn away, if you've tasted of these things, if you've experienced these things in Yahuwah. Don't think it's just a quick, get to know you, because you can't. It's impossible for them to be reconciled. So again, 2 John, verse 9, anyone who runs ahead and does not continue in the teaching of Messiah does not have Elohim. Whoever continues in the teaching has both the Father and the Son. So here we see those who run ahead and do not continue. Okay, those who run ahead, oh yeah, I got this work done. This is too rudimentary for me. I'm way advanced from that. So I'm running ahead. I'll catch you catch up with me. Well, you slowpokes, dilly-dally. I'm going to be closer to glory. Be careful. Anyone who runs ahead does not continue in the teaching, because the teaching takes place here. If you're running up ahead, you're not in the teaching. You're not in the now. You're not in the truth. You're on your own. You run ahead. You're not in the best position just because you think you're improving and impressing people by the fact that you can run faster. Where are you going? The leader is back here with us. We are walking with Messiah wherever He goes, as faithful. We follow the Lamb wherever He goes. You're way up ahead of Him. Why aren't you following too? Anyway, some people you really can't speak common sense, and that's when you got to say, okay, I got somewhere else to be, and I got something else better to do. So walk, stand, sit, progress. In Yochanan chapter 8, verse 12, it says, I am the light of the world. Whoever follows me will never walk in darkness, but will have the light of life. Again, who follows me, he's ahead. We're not ahead. He's ahead of us. We walk with Him. We walk before Him in His presence, not a mile away, thinking that we're impressing people by our stamina and our thing, because that stamina is going to run out, and since it's not going to be replenished by the eternal Yah, they're in problems. And back to 1 John 1:7. If we walk in the light as He is in the light, we have fellowship with one another, and the blood of Messiah, His Son, cleanses us from all sin. And again, Messiah is the Son in that he comes forth. He's the Logos. He's the word that proceeds from the mouth of the speaker. The Father is the speaker. He delivers the word with the breath, with the Ruach. So here we see manifestations of Elohim. The word goes forth. But our words are part of our mind, right? They're just given expression. You can't take back your words. I could think something really naughty or really nasty to you, but you don't know it. Once I speak it, it's out. It's known. So the words of the mysteries of Elohim are not kept up. They are released by the Ruach, by the wind, by the breath of the Most High. So his word is out there. And the word goes out and accomplishes everything that it sets out to do. So, again, this is good. This is good to know. Good to know. Okay, walk in the light of season light. Purify us from all sin. Messiah will purify us from all sin. And then when we walk, we don't have to get back into sin. We walk in that newness of life. And 1 John, Yochanan reminds us that if you're in him, you cannot sin. You cannot revert to the way you used to do things. You cannot go commit adultery. You cannot go and steal from somebody. You can't do it. And if you can, then you're never mind. Never mind. You shouldn't even be thinking about that. Psalm 119, 105. Your word is a lamp to my feet and a light for my path. So we stand in him. His truth illuminates the path. Matthew 10, 22. All men will hate you because of me, but he who stands firm to the end will be saved. So we stand firm. We stand firm. And then Revelation 3:21. To him who overcomes, I will give the right to sit with me on my throne, just as I overcame and sat down with my Father on his throne. He who has an ear, let him hear what the Spirit says to the congregations, to the communities. And again, as a reminder, as I said in the last portion, Malachi 3, verse 6, he does not change. He does not change. James 1:17, there's no shadow of variance or inconsistency in him. He's 100% pure, 100%. He's completely this. He's not that. I don't know. He's 100% Amen. He's 100% everything that is positive and is true. And we love him, who is the one who loved us first. And in fact, he loved us while we were still enemies. We were still laughing behind his back. We were still smiting his cheek, pulling out his beard. He still says, I'm still going through with it, Father. Still going through with it. Oy. So I pray that you're blessed. I thank you for those who have been listening for the whole duration and haven't chased you away. You've been very faithful, and I thank you so much for sticking with us this day. And I don't know what the problem was, but it's gone, or is it less?
Gone.
Completely gone?
Yes.
I don't know. I have to look at my connections. But next week, let's hope that things are better. And please do us a favor and tell people about this. Tell them this is a strange-looking guy who's, through no fault of YouTube, managed to finagle a channel and speak his mind for protracted periods of time. But it's not my mind I'm doing. But tell people about us. And again, you have a difference of opinion, you know, let us know. I gave you contact information. Let us know what you think. Let us know how you feel, because it's not, facts don't matter how you feel, frankly. But if there's anything you feel that we can improve on or anything, let us know. I know we're kind of low tech for sure. I mean, you're in this one room of my palace. I've got like thousands of rooms, but I settled on this one because this one makes me look a little bit more humble. It's not really like a king's palace like my other rooms. So I want you to think, oh, he's a humble guy. He's talking to us from this pretend living room. So anyway, we thank you for joining us, and we give thanks to the Eternal for his giving us of his Torah. Again, Noten HaTorah, Noten HaTorah, the giver of the Torah. We give him thanks. This is the Torah which Moshe placed before the children of Israel. It is in accord with his command, the command of Yahuwah by the hand of Moshe. A tree of life it is for those who take hold of it. Blessed are the ones who support it. Its ways are ways of pleasantness, and all its paths are peace. Long life is in its right hand, and its left are riches and honor. The eternal Yah was pleased for the sake of his righteousness to render Torah great and glorious. Amen. When the ark rested, Moshe would say, Return, O Yahuwah, to the myriads of Israel's families. Arise, O eternal Yah, to your resting place. You and your mighty ark. Clothe your Kohanim, clothe your priests with righteousness. And may those who have experienced your faithful love shout for joy.
Amen.
Amen. For the sake of your servant David, don't delay the return of your Messiah. I give you good instruction. Do not forsake my Torah.
Amen.
So we are to be Kohanim, clothed with righteousness. That's what we're called to be. So again, I thank you for being with us this day, and we're very, very grateful. Now may the eternal Yahweh bless you and keep you. May he make his face to shine upon you and to be gracious to you. And may he lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace, the perfect peace that surpasses our understanding, to guard our hearts and our minds in Messiah Yeshua. Amen.
Amen.
Yivarechech Yahuwah, vayihi shemerecha, Yair Yahuwah panav elecha, vechunecha, Yisai Yahuwah panav elecha, v'yasem lecha, shalom.
Shalom.
Amen. Toda rabah. We thank you, and we're ready to hear our final song here.
Bless you and keep you. The Lord lift his countenance upon you and give you peace. And give you peace. The Lord make his face to shine upon you. And be gracious unto you. And be gracious. The Lord be gracious. Gracious unto you.
Amen and amen.
Amen.
Let it be so. Let it be so. And again, be careful, be safe, and follow the words, follow the path that the eternal Yahuwah has established for us to know his way. And again, we spoke about a lot of things today. This whole dispensationalism is like a liberty and a license of the flesh to do what it seems to do, because we're in a period of grace now. The period of the law is already passed. And it's just a lot of horrific results from that. So help us to be on each other in the sense that let us lead each other and teach each other and be faithful. Be faithful to the one who loves us so much and wants us to walk in truth, to walk in peace. Shalom, shalom, the perfect wellness, not just peace and quiet, but the shalom, the wellness, the healthy, the best that we can be. And be safe in your travels if you need to go out, and just be faithful and faithful to each other and to Elohim. And we give you thanks this day. Again, thank you for your patience, for those who endured to the end. So again, we thank you for this day, and come back and join us next Shabbat for the third Sabbath, counting up to Shavuot, Pentecost. So again, we give you thanks this day, Father. And we give you thanks, and be with each other and support and encourage each other. And shalom, shalom. Amen.
Shalom, shalom.
Oh, my daddy.